Episodes.
Here we go. You
Okay.
guys are good.
Okay.
Hello and welcome back to the Tattoo Collecting Podcast.
We're on episode 69 this week.
Yes, that is
So,
wonderful.
We're coming to you live from the Hell City main stage, I guess. It's camped out in the
Hell City Warehouse.
yeah,
the Red Tree Warehouse.
Yeah, the True Tubes warehouse.
Warehouse.
Yeah, it's all one big thing. But so this is where next month, if you're going to be joining in for the Reinventing live event, it's going to be here. So we're kind of testing out the stage, testing out the equipment, making sure we've got our ducks in a row, and also just kind of getting comfortable with the new space. So
no, it's kind of refreshing being here. I like this a lot.
we're not going to be here every week, but probably the next few weeks until the Reinventing event, and then we'll get back to like the mothership.
Right. I'm down for that. I like this. I like it here. I think it's cool. I think it looks really nice on camera too, seeing this. Definitely nice and solid.
Don't look at it too much. You'll get distracted.
I am. I'm
It's
overwhelmed.
I don't know. It's a whole lot of black.
Just enjoying it because I haven't.
And we're both wearing all black.
Yeah.
Look super washed out. It's okay. It's all right. So
yeah, we'll figure it out.
On today's episode, last week we said we were going to talk about hand tattoos and like the reality of how they actually heal up. And like, so Todd's going to be joining us in about 20 minutes or so. When he joins us, that's where we're going to jump into. But what's been keeping Jordan busy since you've been back to work?
Yeah, I've had a couple of really awesome projects. I just finished up this huge thigh piece, and that was just really fun to polish off. Just kind of that finishing session. So just had the day to just go through and really add the extra shades of every color and things. So that was a lot of fun.
Oh, you just finished that big color piece with the ornamental scroll work and stuff.
Yep, scroll work, and it's got this like girl and this Grim Reaper with like a cathedral style like stained glass thing behind it. Kind of stained glassy, not really, but kind of has that sense. Big opening like that, but just a huge piece. I mean, it was just a great canvas for sure. So we had a lot of space to work with.
It was like hip thigh, right?
Yeah,
like that whole
from little bit below the knee all the way up to top of the hip.
Yeah, she was a trooper. How many sessions did you guys end up having on that piece?
That was the sixth session.
Yeah.
Yep,
she was a trooper about it. You guys had some long hours on that piece. We'll pull it up. Should I pull it up now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it on your Instagram?
It is. Yes, I just posted a bunch of stuff on it. Yes. Very cool piece though. I mean, like every tattoo I do, I feel like I could put another 10 hours into it. So I hope in like a year she comes back for another one. But it's also, we call it finished. Like I'm happy with it.
Is she local or has she been traveling in?
Traveling.
Is she from Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. It's awesome that kind of dedication. That's kind of what it takes to achieve this stuff. Let's get a screen share going for you guys. Oh, always off center.
Oh,
here we go. Oh, that's how you know I'm from the Midwest. So this is one of the recent pieces. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Definitely. Like, I mean, a lot of people would say it's just way different than my style, but like, God, it feels so natural doing something like that.
The cursor while you're talking about it. How did you guys started? If I remember right, you started with the scroll work first and kind of worked up from there, right?
Yep. We laid that out and then laid the rest based on that. This was a drawing that I did in colored pencil that was almost the size of this. I did, we actually blew it up a little bit, but it was still a really good size colored pencil drawing I did like 4 or 5 years ago. She's seen it out in Michigan and definitely snatched it up, but we had a more symmetrical ornamental work at the bottom originally drawn up in that picture. I was thinking back piece and symmetrical, but also asymmetrical back piece. This was more centered and things like that to be that, but we ended up changing a few elements around. I ended up doing something a little bit different down here so it'd flow more with her leg, and I'm just really happy with that.
This is a super good example of like how like you might have all the brainstorming done, but like you might still have to compromise to make it fit and flow with the body. Like you might have every detail worked out, but once it comes time to actually putting it on the form, compromises need to be made. But like in reality, I think that asymmetry down there at the bottom, I think that like leads to like a more natural, like opening, flowing kind of like start for your eye to travel up the
Yeah.
piece. I kind of
Honestly, I
tend to like
laid
the
down-
asymmetry
I
like
l-
that.
I played with the symmetrical, and I tried to see it on there, and it just wasn't looking good. You could just see how I could have done that, and it would have looked pretty cool. But at the same time, it just wasn't flowing with the body anywhere near as much. So
Yeah.
we just did a full rearrange.
I mean, and it
change.
was just like changing a few elements around. Like all the elements are pretty much the same, just
Yeah, right.
changed around a little bit.
Exactly.
Do you have some videos of this? If
Yep.
you scroll through. Nice.
I guess it kind of some of the scroll work on there in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to get the final session to go through and do some just like thicker line work with everything as well in the last one. Kept everything really thin most of the time. It's just so much work to do. I mean, honestly, we could put another session into it. And she knows that, but we're also calling it for a while.
That's one of those things where sometimes you just gotta kind of like walk away and let the piece be what it is.
Right. It's exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I've got pieces like that where like it's one of those things with like landscapes and like space work and nebulas and things like that where like it'll be finished, but like as I grow as an artist, it's like, oh, I could take what we already did and make it better.
Mhm.
Like not even like a cover up or a change, but like let me add these new tricks to it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Where like
So I
we
feel
had
like
to call it finished so we could move on to the next project most of the time. But that's the freedom of having clients that are like one large project right into the next, because we always have the opportunity to like come back and like pop in some more highlights or like add some new tricks, you know, like there's different things that we can do
right.
with
And
line
especially
weight,
when
and
you were
there's
doing
different things.
things like on such a big, large, I don't mean to interrupt,
It's okay.
but such a large scale, like, you know, it's like an area this big is as big as a piece of paper.
Mhm.
So it's like, you know, you can do so much detail in that. I can go back and you know, work out so many more shades and still do a lot more work and spend another 2 sessions really finessing everything, if not more, you know, even just like a painting, you can just keep working, especially when it's this big, and just really making things exactly even cooler, you know, getting line weight even thicker, getting, I don't know, one of the things where you just got to call it, you know, tattoos hurt a lot.
And she's probably ready to jump into something else, but I love how this turned out. It came together really nicely.
Thank you.
And I know we talked a lot about color and stuff on this one. And I know like I can see some of the like color lessons shining through.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
There's a lot to build on. I think for me on this one, it was a lesson in large scale and like making decisions on a large scale, and, you know, picking my colors on a large scale, and how much detail I'm going to have to do in everything, and how much detail I might do in something small
funny
versus
thing when
this
you look at
big,
a
and how long
sleeve.
something's going to take and things like that.
It's funny when you look at a sleeve and you think a sleeve, like an arm sleeve is a large tattoo, and it is. I'm not saying it's not. But then when you jump into the thigh, which you're like, oh, that's only a little bit bigger than the upper arm. And in
This would twist
reality,
around an arm 2 times.
yeah, that's way bigger than a sleeve. Like it's only from the knee to the hip. Yeah, but like that's a sleeve and a half.
And any sleeve I do is going to be 5 to 6 sessions, you know, at least.
Mhm.
So I feel like we got this done in a good time.
And this is a super good example of like she was super open. I remember when you guys started this project, she was super open, and it seemed like she was down for like, you know, committing to however long it took. And you know, and one of the reasons I like talking about a piece like this is because there are those there's that whole aspect of it's a process. You know, it's not a 1 or 2 session thing sometimes with these big tattoos. And I think it's important for collectors and potential collectors of big work to understand that it's a process, to understand that there's
Yeah.
like an ebb and flow to it. And, you know, when we say like, we're going to call this finished for now, but I actually want to work on it again in about 3 years, like, let's let it settle in. Like I'll specifically do that with some clients. You know, where it's like, okay, let's start on this other sleeve. But once we get this other sleeve done, I want to go through both of them and do all of my darkest darks and brightest whites at the same time. So those match. And it's kind of cool when a client is flexible to that, because it then allows both projects to be even more cohesive instead of one looking new and the other looking not as new.
Yeah.
When you save like that final polish pass for like buttoning up a collection, or deliberately making it so that one sleeve matches another part of the collection. It's really cool when you get that freedom and clients understand that it's a process. And the more attention you give a tattoo, like you might call it finished, but if you give it a whole nother day of love, it's only going to be that much better.
Right. Right. Yeah. I see so many, just like almost like glazing on a painting too. Like
Because that's exactly the
I
idea.
look at this, like, let's say I did this in oil paint and I'm letting that cure right now. Like, even though it looks finished, I could still go back with, oh man, even just big washes of like, muted colors to just make things just settle in, push and pull things.
Yep. And there's a thing with big tattoos, and I call it the magic of the heel. Like sometimes one of the things that I learned with my leg tattoo, the one that Adam did, is that there's a lot of changes that happen in the skin, in the tattoo, in the days after, and the weeks after, and the months after, and in the years after the tattoo has been done. Sometimes when a tattoo is fresh, it'll be very needle marky, and you can see like almost cross hatching of the mag, like the shape and way the needles like stack into the skin. You'll see like cross hatching. And then you give it like 3 weeks and all of a sudden it's perfectly smooth. And then you give it another,
just expanded.
Yeah, you give it another few months and everything's just settled and it's soft and it's saturated and you don't see those like cross hatches anymore. And that's kind of the magic in the heel, and understanding that like it's going to settle. You know what I mean? Like there is a settling process. It's really cool to watch tattoos heal and change to me. Like I like that process. Like I like watching how like soft tones that flow one into the next get even softer over time and blend even better over time.
Yeah, I feel that. I definitely feel that. I love the magic and letting something heal and come back into it. I'm really thankful for the clients, especially like my bio clients, but the geometric clients for sure, but it usually applies to an extent. But like my bio clients and the more like pieces like what we just looked at, where I guess just painterly is what I should say. It's the ones who are willing to keep coming back and be like, okay, cool. You think I should do another session on this? Like, it looks complete, but you think I should come back? Awesome. When people are traveling really far, it's a little bit harder. And I do try to really use the time that I have to my advantage and not try to just be like, all right, keep coming back, spend it. A lot of people have to spend like an extra $500, when they're, or more than that, a lot of times when they're going to travel for a tattoo, if you're going more than like however far.
Yep. Just so you know, when artists are like, I'd love to do another pass, it's not a hustle. It's really like
your tattoo.
It's really,
can look cooler, but we're so
better.
restricted by time.
Yeah.
We only have so much time.
Yep.
So and there's only so much you can do in a session.
And I'd take it.
And I get so ambitious where I'm like, oh yeah, right. I'm really starting to catch up to my ambition. Yeah. Like I've always been more ambitious than what I like. I always want to get way more done than what I get done. Cause if I aim really far, then like, I'm like, cool, well, I'm even if it's farther than like what I can accomplish, I'm like, cool, we'll aim for something farther. So maybe I can push it. And now I feel like, God, between that Cheyenne that I have, like that Cheyenne changed the game a little bit for me. I don't know why it really changed
when you get
things.
the machine that feels right in your hands. Back when I was working with coil machines,
I'm going 3 times as fast with my black fill. Like seriously, way faster, way cleaner than it's ever been. Like I've always been able to fill good, but now it's like filling fat. It's faster, better.
Yep. Way back when I was working with coil machines, the first time that I had a machine that felt like right in my hand. Like I had some nice machines and I had been tattooing a little bit, but I got this, it was a hand built Severia. It was a left-handed machine too. And I'm right-handed, but like it felt like perfect. It felt perfect. And to work with it, it was just perfect. So that ended up for years, that ended up being my backup machine. It was my most favorite machine, but it was actually my backup machine. That way, if any of my other machines that I used for lining, shading, color packing, any of it, if any of them started acting finicky, I could grab that Severia and just with the minorest adjustments, I could line with it. I could shade with it. I could pack color like you couldn't believe with it. So that was always my backup machine. I had good machines, but my favorite I reserved as my backup just because like it felt perfect.
Yeah.
And now that, we're working with these rotary pens, they're not all created equal, but like you're using a Cheyenne and I'm using Masts, but like they just feel right. And they're just getting like these new pens are just getting the ink in there so consistently. Like if you're using quality needles and you're using a quality driving machine, like it's just getting so much more efficient.
Yeah.
I love where we're at with the machines right now.
I couldn't even tell you what exactly it is about that Cheyenne. Like a part of it, I know it's an amazing machine. It's a great machine, but I feel like the confidence knowing that it's always going to be consistent because it's been nothing but super consistent. And I not being like Cheyenne. It's just that's the machine I got. I love it a lot. No sponsored anything like that, but just very impressed by it. And I'm just every time I tattoo, I'm getting faster and faster and faster. And I feel like, I've always been kind of ramping up. I'm always trying to get better, always. But now I feel like it just started this thing where it's like going even faster and faster.
And it's one of those things where like it's not even necessarily like we're racing the clock, but like the faster we work, the more work we can get done, and the sooner our client is out of pain. You know what I mean? It's not even necessarily that we're racing the minute, you know what I mean? Like that's not what we're chasing, but we're chasing the minutes our client is in pain.
Yeah.
And if we can, if with one machine, it takes you, or we'll say with one setup, it takes you 6 hours to do a tattoo, and you can set up with this other setup. And now that 6-hour tattoo is 4.5 hours. Like you've saved yourself time, you've saved your client time and pain. And like, it's still the same quality tattoo. So still charge the same because it is the same tattoo. But like, if you can achieve it in a shorter amount of time with the same quality, just because of different equipment, like.
And if you're starting to finish things way quicker than what you were doing before. See, this is, I won't say any names, but there's an artist I know who's experiencing the same problem where he's getting, he actually got the Cheyenne too, but, he's getting super fast with his work. I don't know if one of the artists here, but they, what was I gonna say? Now I'm losing my train of thought.
Are they struggling with like pricing?
Oh yeah, no, they're pricing because they're going so fast with their work, like getting faster and faster and just expecting to have a full day and getting done in 2-3 hours.
This is why I like
and
to
so
quote,
it's
like
that's where I'm like,
if it's a one-day project,
like, charge more, if you're finishing way quicker than what you expected, you're getting that much quicker, unless you're doing, see where I'm like sleeve projects and things like that, like where you can get all this, you can get more work done. I don't know if you necessarily should charge more or not. That's all up to you. But I think when you're doing things that are like solid pieces like this, things that you're always going to get done in like one day, but then all of a sudden you're doing pieces this big and you're getting those done in 3 hours instead of 6 hours. You don't want to, that means you're going to start charging less for your work over time. The better you get, the less you're going to charge. Because you're getting done quicker. I mean, you could fit more, I guess essentially you could fit more tattoos in your day, but then at the same time,
well, I think that
weighing out, I guess, how you want to go about your career.
I think for me, that's one of the reasons why I like to quote either, like if it's a 1-session project, I quote that at our consultation, and that's just what it is. If it takes 3 hours, cool. If it takes all day, cool.
You
like
just got a price for that 1-day tattoo.
Yeah. Where like large projects, it's just by the day, and it's like as much as we can accomplish, but I also look at it like teamwork. So if here's another way to look at it. If you've got a client that is, let's say, extra fidgety and you have to work slower because you have to work with this client, is it fair to charge that client more for the same project because it took a little bit longer because they were a little bit more ticklish? Or is like the same work worth the same? I don't think there's a right or wrong.
Right. There's definitely a couple perspectives on that.
Yeah, this is just a question to consider. I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's just one of those,
there's like a morality
pricing
thing
is so hard.
And then there's like like anyone else, like a therapist or something, if they got, paid hourly or something like that, you're going over your time, you're probably going to get charged and things like that. But also, I don't like to charge like that. I do hourly, but I don't do hourly.
So,
I
like,
do
what
I do
about
a
like
day rate
this?
that's based on my hourly rate. And if I have to like guess on it, like if we end up going a couple hours and stuff, then I can base it on something. I have,
Mhm.
I can base, yeah. I got a structure for it, but I don't like to count the clock. I don't like to count the clock
Oh, we got
because
Todd.
I like to feel free. I don't want to have to, feel like if I have to go to the bathroom that people are tapping their foot.
There we go. Todd's connecting with us. Yeah, it's one of those things, like I feel like there's just a natural pace to a tattoo session. And sometimes that pace is going to be faster, sometimes it's going to be slower. I mean, I don't necessarily say that like it's not often that I'll be like, oh, I got that tattoo done half as fast as I thought. For me, it's more like, oh, it took me only 4 sessions to complete that sleeve instead of 5 or 6.
Mhm.
And then it's like, is that something that I was doing differently? Or is that my client was sitting so good that I could just plow away? You know what I mean? So those are the variables like,
Mhm. Right. That's why I also like to not have like, whatever it takes, like the quicker we can get done. That my mindset is the quicker we can get done a sleeve. Like if we could finish it in 3 sessions, that would be awesome. Ain't gonna happen, but like 4 or 5 sessions, cool. But like I'm not trying to get as many sessions out of you as possible. Like the shorter, the better. Like I
yeah.
don't, there's other clients who can come in, but it's the questions of like the day rate and like if you get done in 3 hours versus 6 hours. If normally the same project was taking you 6 hours and now it's taking you 3 hours after.
Well, and here's the other thing. Like if you have a short session, you always, I mean, yesterday, for instance, my client and I, we have a quoted price for our sessions and like he sits like a champ. Like I get a lot of work done on him every time I see him. But yesterday in particular, he had to work a little bit later. So we started just a little bit later in the day. And then we usually work until 3 or 4, but we only wrapped up at 1. So like I knocked a little bit off of the price because like we met our goal, but it didn't
Right.
take literally as long as it usually takes.
Yeah, I definitely would never, I would never charge a client more. Like if I got done quicker and I was like, oh no, I'm actually going to charge you more because I got done quicker. I would never do that unless the rules of the ball game or the rules of the game from the beginning were that, and that was my price structure
What
in
do you
general.
think, Todd? This is
I
kind of
would
the
just, I
question
would
where
raise my rates in general if
the-
I was
the
going
question
faster.
where-
I wouldn't do it per session and be like, no, I'm going to charge more this session.
the
I would
question
never
we're
do that.
kicking around is, so let's say you were quoted a 4-hour price on a tattoo and your artist finished it in 3. Do you think the artist should still charge you the full price that he quoted because he got it done more quickly? Or do you think that's just, I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think it's a variable and every situation is different, but what's your opinion?
Well, if it's a day rate, it's a day rate, it's how many hours they can do. So, I'm not gonna quibble about it. I don't think, I mean, a rate is a rate,
Hmm.
no matter how many hours it is, right?
Yeah,
That's what-
I think that's a good point, is if it was it quoted hourly or was it quoted as a day rate? I guess that's the
Yeah.
variable.
Mhm.
If it's
Okay.
a day
right.
rate,
I guess-
you're
Right. I guess the thing that the thing that I was pointing out was just like the evolution of a tattoo artist who's getting faster and getting faster and faster and faster and say they're charging, charging so much. And then
well, let me put an artist out there who's notoriously slow, and everyone knows it. Rumber. He's gotten faster over the years, but he is notoriously slow. So he always charges an hourly rate. I don't know if he's changed that to a day rate yet. Last I heard it was still an hourly rate. So, you're at the mercy of his slowness. So.
right.
I mean, Bob's slow. Bob Tyrell's slow, but Bob charges a flat fee. So
That's one of the
No.
things I like in my own work, when I can just quote the day rate and then I don't even have to watch the clock whatsoever.
Yeah.
Then, like I said earlier, it's more like I'm watching minutes that my client is in pain rather than minutes ticking away on the clock. It's more
I'll
like
be
I want to
honest
be
with you,
efficient for the sake of the pain. But
I'll be
Right.
honest with
And
you,
then
though,
they always know what to
seeing,
expect.
I'm seeing more and more artists go day rate though than hourly rate.
I think that's
The higher-
I like that the best. I just like knowing what to expect. You know how it just I think it makes things way easier as an artist. Clients know what to expect. They know next time that they make a session exactly what they're going to have to pay for. And if it's
Mhm.
any less, it's less. But like, no, they're coming in with like this certain amount, and it's not going to be more. They know it's not going to be more. So, so I really like that with the artists that I go to, that I always know it's going to be that day rate, or it's going to be
And I think
no more than this.
it saves an arguing at the end. Like, I know my friend, Megan had a little incident a couple
What's up,
days ago
Chuck?
where she argued with her client
Charles,
about what she
Can
was
you turn your phone
charging.
for us?
Sure.
So, and she got, she was out of a cool grand because he refused to pay.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about this week.
Yeah.
Todd and I we were texting. We weren't on air talking about it. We were in
Yeah.
our morning gossip time. Yeah.
And she's worked on that sleeve 3 times, and there was never a question of what was paid.
Have you
But
ever
this
been
time
stiffed
he
on
had
a
problem.
project?
have I ever been?
Yeah. Have you ever had anybody just like leave after the
Chucky?
session?
I have never been stiffed. I have been worried about it, and I've had people make me wait around all night while they went to the bank and shit like that, and waited like an hour and a half, and like stuff like that after closing time, and just like been pissed as shit. But I've never been stiffed. I'm thinking of one instance too when that happened, and I was very upset by that. Very upset.
Knock on wood, right?
It only ever happened to me once. It was early in my career. But like honestly, like it wasn't the most pleasant client to be working on anyways. So I just look at it like
It's
he
always the
excluded
trouble-
himself.
It's always the trouble people too, and they come in with some troubles. Then they got more troubles, and then there's something else and something else, and I'm like, man, you girl, man, you do not have your life organized.
And sometimes like another element too is they'll like name drop people like myself or Todd
Mhm.
and be like, yo, that's our boy. Can you get us in? They might not ask for the homeboy hookup, but like they'll definitely try and name drop people.
Right.
So because I've had artists ask me privately, do you know this person?
Mhm.
I've had people that want to get tattooed email artists and say that like I'm a reference, and then they'll let me know after they already did it, like, hey, I used you, and it's like, dude, why?
Yeah.
You should.
I didn't vouch for
make-
you.
Make me look bad too.
Yeah.
And then they
Make
leave a
you look bad.
deposit and then like ask for a refund once they realize they can't afford the tattoo. Like, I mean,
Like, man,
wouldn't
making my
believe-
artists think that I'm sending these broke ass bitches.
or then
No, I won't do that. I won't do that. If I send someone to an artist, I absolutely know they can pay for it. I won't send someone to an artist that I know that won't honor that artist. I
Right.
just won't do it.
Right.
And
It's
you know, I'm
usually
sorry,
my,
you just know.
my really
You just
good
know the type of person.
Yeah, definitely. And my really good clients who like people come in with references from other people. I've had it a few times. I have had it where really good clients who've got awesome work, like someone they know seen the tattoo, or like they wanted to like they referenced them to come in or whatever, or they just referenced the person, whatever. And it just ended up being a terrible consultation where it's just like, oh man, this is complete opposite of what I want to do. This is, or not what I want to do, but just like the person's weird. Something's weird. Something about the money's weird. They don't have enough money. They're not going to, oh, I didn't know it was going to be that much. I didn't know,
they just don't get it. Like
everything's against the grain.
I did
with them.
have
Yeah.
this one time recently. I had a person who'd been waiting for their consultation for months. And like, you have to read on my webpage in 2 different places, like what I charge. And that's like the maximum that I'll charge for the day. But I want people to be prepared. But it lists what I charge. And like, I don't know
God,
how
you're
he
a
didn't
brave
read it.
one. You're a
Um,
brave one.
Right. I had this guy,
well, we get to our consultation and one of his coworkers who I've done a lot of work on, but it's been years ago. And it was back when I was charging like $500 and $600 a day. Like we're talking like a few years ago. It's been a while. And we get to like the end of our consultation where we're talking about scheduling and payment and like how I hold the deposit and and like all of those details. And he's like, wait, you charge that much? I was like, well, yeah, like why is this awkward? It's on my webpage. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand how like you missed it. Like
multiple
you had to
times.
read it and like
These days
on my
it's super
webpage
rare.
and on my jot form. Like you had to read it in two places and then you had to check a box that said that you read that. Like
Nobody reads anymore.
I had a
Yeah,
guy.
that's
I
true,
had a
too.
guy a couple weeks ago who it wasn't about the money thing, but he referenced a client that was a really awesome client. I like the dude. We've been doing some really cool pieces on. The guy sends me some references for the picture that he wants, and like I don't want to go too much in detail because I don't want the guy to hear this, and then because I am taking on the tattoo, but I don't want him like. And I ended up talking him into some stuff, but he showed me a really awesome like cool picture that I really like I wanted to do when it was sent over the jot form and over email. I was like, cool, this is gonna be up my alley. It was different than the geometric, but it was like in a different direction. I'm like, cool, I can take this one on. This will be fun. He comes in getting like super, we're both getting excited. I'm like, oh yeah, you know him. Oh yeah, like cool. Yeah, he's an awesome client. And they're, it's just great conversation between me and him. But right away, sat down, wanted to change the entire design to something like a million times simpler. Like he showed me references, went from showing me references of really like amazing art to showing references from like really bad artists, like people who like how do I explain? Just someone who was probably first year tattooer who just like pieced together like this like half sleeve of like a bunch of different elements when he had one element, one awesome thing that we were going to do really big, and then had like 5 to 10 different elements that we had to involve in it, and just reduced the thing that he wanted made really small somewhere because of whatever reasons. I just don't want to get into too much, but yeah, so we just had this entire design. So it just totally caught me off guard because now like usually we filter out the people before they come in for the consultation of something that like, was going to be completely out of my wheelhouse that I don't really want to take on. And he just jumped into something that was like, because we got so excited, and then I felt really bad about not wanting to do it because like I was like, because what he showed me was fucking dope, and so I was like super into it. And then as soon
let
as
me ask you this, Jordan.
right away hit me with that, and then I'm like, oh man. So I was real with him, and I told him exactly kind of what I thought, and I'm like, you came in here with this other idea we talked about and things, but it was really hard for me. I had to like, I paused for like probably like 10 seconds and just like looked at him and like looked down at the drawing that he sent me. I'm just trying to think of the words. And I was visibly like, I'm thinking of the words to say. Is this our
I think this is our Uline delivery.
it's all right.
We're coming to you live from the warehouse.
Right.
If you didn't catch that
Uline when
earlier.
you need your delivery fast.
Do you have a business
Do you have a
that
business?
has business needs?
Do you
Well,
need bubble wrap? Because we got bubble wrap.
hold on, I gotta show you this.
Hey, bubble wrap is
Oh,
getting
I thought I was gonna
expensive
put
these
you on
days.
camera. Jess is too quick. She's fast.
You can't have
ever-
our bubble wrap, but we have it.
It's amazing how I've heard that a lot of artists talk about how clients will do that, have this one design and all of a sudden they decide they change it along the way. I don't know if they've seen something and they go, well, I like that cool element. Maybe I'll add it.
Sometimes I think it's almost like they'll message us in private with what they actually want. And then after they've like messaged us, then they start talking to their friends and spouses, and then they start giving input and they start sharing
Exactly. And
ideas.
it's like, how
and-
about I take a little bit from all of you guys? So I'll take a little bit from you,
The
a little
whole
bit from
kitchen
you.
sink.
So we'll take all those
Yeah.
ideas and mash them into one and just totally catch our artist off guard with all this stuff. But I forgive people because they don't always know. And like
Sometimes-
Throw a turd at the wall, see what sticks. No, I mean, there was the good one at Hell City where I was just having a cigarette with an artist, and we're talking how it's going, and he's working on a full sleeve, I think it was like 2-3 days that he was going straight on it. And on like day 2 or 3, he says that like he didn't like the color, and it's like predominantly, let's say, green, if it's like floral. So the artist is already like 2 days in, and then the client all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just like part of the problem is like you're an artist, but you also, it's sort of like in a way like a catering industry. And there's like a lot of like babies out there, and they're just not straightforward like from the jump, like what they
One of
want.
my favorite things is when a client or even like a client's spouse will be like, I kind of would like it to look like this, or like, I think it should do this. And I'll just be like, yeah, that's already the plan.
Right.
Like, that's
I heard
what we're doing.
I heard some remarks from across the room the other day.
My
Some clients saying stuff like
girlfriend
that, and you're like, no, or whoever it was like, no. I think the way that I did it's the right way, in a very nice way.
Oh, we were talking about some lettering. This was just yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, could we make those all lowercase? And I was like, I think it'll be more formal if, you know what I mean? Like that's why it's capitalized, so that it looks like a formal. And he was like, oh, well,
it's going to change the whole look.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different tattoo entirely, same words. But let's be honest, how many people like we established, nobody reads anymore. So they're going to look at your tattoo. They're not going to read it. It's just going to have a whole different.
And it was just a very small element in the tattoo. I'll share it later on in the show today, but like, just, little touches like that. And if he would have been like, I still want it lowercase, I could have changed it. It would have taken me 30 seconds to like bloop, 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 change them all to lowercase. But it was like, I think it's going to be more formal, and like for the purpose of it, it should be formal and like correct, like a formal address. So he was like, that sounds right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it makes sense. I got a good topic. How far do we let our significant others influence our tattoos? Now, I'm talking from personal experience, because getting, a predominantly visible area like your neck, if you're in a relationship, they're going to see it more than you are. So this actually was an issue for me in my past relationship.
It's a sticky one. That's a sticky one for sure, because I imagine like, you very much want to be your own person, and you want to say like, I'm, if like a part of me wants to be like, if you don't like it, like I'm, this is something that I want, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to deal with it. There's a part of me that feels like that, but there's another part of me that was like, if my significant other ever said that they didn't like a design before I got it, and like I'm about to get a tattoo that my significant other doesn't like, I might have a pretty big problem with that, and I don't know how I would go about that completely.
So one of the things that I deal with often, and I work on families a lot. So like I'll work on the husband, then I'll work on the wife, then I'll work on, you know what I mean? Like I work on families. So I get to know whole families, and I get to know dynamics a little bit when I do that. But it's really very important to me to make sure that I am consulting with my client, and I'll listen to what their partner says. I'll listen to what their family member or friend or who I'll listen. Like I'll take that into consideration.
Don't do it though. Don't bring someone.
that's-
Don't bring your
that's just-
significant
But hold
other
on.
to give their
Here's
opinion.
one of the
telling you
things
not
that
to
I've
do
done
any of that.
though.
I'm
Like
telling your
it's
clients.
like I'll be having my consultation here, and this person will be talking, and I'll acknowledge, and I'll be like, okay. And then I'll go back to having my consultation. And when they interject again, I'll be like, I heard you. I understand, but this is their idea.
I just thought maybe like if you kind of like just a little bit over, like I know what he was talking about earlier.
I hear you, but I need to hear him tell me that. And like,
can I see? Can I see?
Like, I didn't used to be like that. I would let clients get talked out of or into ideas by people that didn't even know what they were talking about. And now it's like, yeah, I hear you. I understand, but I need to hear them tell me that. Like I need to make sure I get their idea. The idea
Yeah,
you
the
have
person-
might not be their idea.
That
Well, I
person,
got- but-
Yeah.
that person
No.
interjecting, if they don't have any art history, any art backgrounds, I mean, if they're trying to tell you to do something that's not viable, or like too much detail in a small thing, like if they don't know, it's kind of like a fine line between getting annoyed and trying to explain to them, like, look, that's
Right.
just not possible, that's not reasonable.
You're like, bitch, before I take your opinion into consideration, will you please explain to me the elements of design? Right off the bat, please.
It's
Please,
like-
please, because I
it's like
spent
It goes one
A
of
couple
two
years
ways.
learning
Either
those.
it's like, yeah, it doesn't work like that, or it's, yeah, that's what we were gonna do. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's like one of those two reactions when there's like a friend or an interjector that like,
right.
it's
How
not
about you
always
tell me how to
helpful.
do
It's such a
exactly what I
personal
was
thing.
gonna do?
I
It's such a
just think
personal
that's
thing.
I think it's a bad idea that you bring anyone along in the first place. If
Honestly.
you're designing it during the design phase,
Yeah.
when you're going to apply it in that, it's already decided and there's not much they can do at that point. But before,
Well, it's a
I wouldn't let
collaborative
anyone-
process already.
I
So
get
when you
that,
have
but
too
again,
many captains trying to steer a
Yeah.
ship, it goes into the rocks every time.
it
I
should
think
just be you and the
What's your
client.
experience, Chuck?
So I usually go to like 99% of my sessions alone, but I was recently in a relationship and decided to take her along, and one of the experiences went well because for my for the Ghost Fox piece, originally it had more there was more going on to it, like there was like a billowing cape behind the fox. So since there was more to it, it actually went over the Adam's apple. And so then my ex is like, well, if you don't shave, you might lose some of the fox's head. Like, how about trying to push it back further? And
That was a thoughtful suggestion, but that wasn't really like changing your idea or anything.
well, I mean, that was a different element altogether. But so I mean, I'm just amped, and I'm like, damn, it looks so badass, But I did kind of say I did want like one left, one right, and then do the center separate. So I kind of, but like sometimes in the moment, like when I trust the artist fully, I'm just ready to go, like first time the stencil's on. But I was also like, you know what, like at the time I was in a serious relationship, and I was like, all right, let's move the stencil, let's just see how it looks. And so we moved it, and we all agreed that it was losing some of the elements, but it did look better aesthetically speaking.
Mhm.
So yeah, like even the artist was like, yeah, you know what, I think she was right. And then so that was definitely helpful. But she didn't like the color blue. She didn't want me. And I'm like, listen, I'm trying to think of original tattoo ideas, and fox is my spirit animal, and I want a ghost fox. I haven't seen those incorporated. And if you go to a traditional Asian artist and you want a ghost, you're gonna get a blue or a light blue, or I don't know, maybe even purple. But she was just adamant that it not be blue. And for me, it's like, well,
You're like, that's the whole point. That like is the
yeah.
idea.
it's like, I understand you don't like blue, but what about like the rest of my tattoos? Like a third of my tattoos have blue in them. Like, you don't have a problem with those. But so I ended up doing it blue, and we go out to dinner, and she was almost in tears. She's like, you know what, I don't like it.
Oh my God.
So
Oh my
after
God.
helping with the arrangement aesthetically, to being like, yeah, maybe I'm glad you spoke up, because I might have just done it whatever. And then, you know, so from like a high to a low, and they're almost in tears. And like the artist is like, oh, I can change it up a little bit. And it's like, no, like that was one thing. So this is from my personal experience. You need to stand your ground if you really want something, because if I had done it in gray, we talked about this at length, because we did it over the course of 3 sessions. So if we did the fox gray, it was going to look more like a wolf. If we did it the same color as my hand, I feel like it would just be a little, I don't know, redundant. I don't know. Like, it wouldn't be a ghost fox. You know what I mean? It would be another fox holding a lantern, you know, a kitsune with a lantern, but it wouldn't be a ghost fox.
Right. So
she kept bringing it up, and I was kind of like, yeah. But like that was one thing I was going to stand my ground on. And the other, she said, you have so many like scary tattoos already. Yeah. So
trying to control my tattoos. See, that's like, oh man. Yeah, no, I think I couldn't do that. I mean, of course you can, because you're in a relationship, a serious relationship, you know, it's like their opinion matters the most, but it's just like, damn.
And they don't like your next.
You don't and you don't realize, like, I don't know. Unless my significant other, like Emily, was getting really shitty tattoos and really, really bad ones, I would not, I would never, ever. So you get whatever you want, whatever color you want. And if you ask me my opinion, I'm gladly going to give it to you. But like, never am I going to ever make you feel. I feel like that's the worst thing people can do, is talk shit about people's tattoos, because it's on them forever. And now you have something to feel bad about your whole life. Like, oh shit, people you don't like no matter what. Of course you can say fuck the haters, but if there's another part of you that's always going to be like, you know.
Yeah, because
okay,
everybody else loves it. And then like the one person that you care about doesn't like it. And it's like,
it takes the fucking wind right out of it.
It got to the point where I was like, you know what? Like, since I'm always driving, like, should I do the fox on the right side? Because you're going to be the one looking at it the most. You know what I mean? And then, so it was kind of, I mean, it didn't take the wind out of my sails, because I had the opportunity to change it up a little bit. And you know what, maybe in the future we'll do another glaze on it or whatever. But you know, there's other more important tattoos that I got coming up in a couple of weeks. So
what do you got coming up, Chuck?
I have in less than 2 weeks, I have a session at 5 Points with Chris Garver.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So I'm pretty sure I like to keep it kind of loose. It's pretty exciting. The same when I express my artistry in the studio with vocals. I don't like to be confined by anything. If you know, it's a collaborative effort, and you can't be too rigid.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, so all I have left is the inner butt cheeks. And so I figure
they're not fun.
No.
I don't recommend it. Zensa, prenum it. It was awful. I mean, and my tattoo doesn't even like go all the way into my butt cheeks. It just kind of looks like it does.
Yeah, I mean,
not fun. The underneath side.
Yeah,
it's really not fun.
Yeah, no, bring a tank of nitrous with you.
That's a fantastic idea.
Wow, I never thought of that. That sounds good.
Oh, don't do that. Don't really show up with nitrous to your tattoo appointment.
My clients are going to show up and there's going to be nitrous, the hose
just
coming out of the wall.
a tank behind them.
It's going to be built into the wall.
I got offered that the last time I went.
That's not really going to happen.
But they wanted like an extra 125, and I was just getting like, yeah, I passed on it. But
sounds nice though.
Let's see. So yeah, I figure a koi with some maple leaves on one of them, or maybe a dragon on the other, but figure just try and like line and maybe shade, and then just do color after, since I have like sessions already booked for 2 weeks later, and then yeah, within 2 weeks I got 2 more. So
You've really been getting a lot of work from Garver here lately, huh? Both sides of your neck, your hands.
yeah, the fingers too.
Mhm.
And actually I intend I'm gonna try and ask if before we could do a cheek even, I'd like to do just put like one white what's it called, one white cherry blossom, like right on the throat or right underneath it.
I like that idea.
Yeah, just because of the OCD, it's just gonna help. You know, when you got like
Just to like button that area up for you.
it's just like that tiny gap, and everything else I like symmetry and just, I guess, I mean, it doesn't even have to be perfectly cohesive, but I just like everything evened out. So when there's just that one gap that's like the size of, you know, a nickel. I mean, maybe a little bigger, but not much, you know, that'll just.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could even like tuck like a big cherry blossom here and maybe like a little one that's even blown apart down here. Maybe
Yeah,
like
like
some petals trailing
petal.
off. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the list goes on because, yeah, just got to decide if I want to do the head. Wait, let's see. I might even. Okay, I actually think I try and prepare ahead of time. So initially we were going to do a crane on one of the cheeks, but I don't think it's a reasonable request, just because I already have like the sides of my butt done already. I have some like Paul lacquer work, and then I just had Dan Sin do like side cheek also a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, that was another one where the ex was like, oh, you know, you have enough scary tattoos already. I thought you were just going to get beautiful ones from now on. And
You're like, I think they're all beautiful.
I'm like, it's a crab oni and it's Dan Sen. Like,
Let me pull that one up because I think this one's great. Like for being
That's a
little
cool
like
one.
button up pieces that you're like, you know, plugging in here and there. I think some of these new pieces are just fantastic. Let me find it.
yeah, I mean, it healed beautifully. It's bright and vibrant. And, you know, people are going to be like, oh, you have crabs now. And I'm like, I mean,
What's new?
What do you think was the inspiration, brah?
Little
I
demons.
wanted it. No, I mean, no, it was a collaboration because he did ask me what I wanted. And I said, well, I don't have an Oni yet. I don't have a Baku. I don't have a food dog, but I also do like, I don't know if I said Oni already. I think I did, but I was like, I also like, you know, the crabs or whatever and the mashups. So, but yeah, that spot sucked. I mean, from line one, you know.
Yeah. It only gets worse closer to the crack and like the underneath. I'm sorry. If you prenum works fantastic in those areas though.
Well, I've never prenum before, so I'm not sure.
Might seriously want to think about it.
Oh, hot is an understatement. It's like hot, 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 hot.
And then also using the coil instead of the rotary too.
Oh,
But I think it just like, I don't know, it just packs more of a punch.
I mean, you're gonna get through it. You're gonna live, but it like we pre-numbed, but like that's only a head start. So like Russ would get like one color or one pass in, and by the time he came back through, like I'm feeling it. You know what I mean? Like
I think that's why Todd won't continue. I keep pushing him, but no pun intended. He said he wasn't going to do the neck either, but after a couple of years, here we are.
I'm telling you that's not gonna get done, man. That shit feels like you're being filleted.
There was a
Wait.
point that I wanted to get my fingers tattooed, like all the way to my nail beds, like all the way down. But once we did like the web between my hands, I was like, no,
Oh,
it's not worth it.
The
Nope.
web.
Actually, the web ain't as bad as it is up on top. By your fingernails, that really hurts.
So have you ever had a paper cut with like a manila envelope? You know, the ones I'm talking about, or a manila folder, the ones that are like lethal and make you bleed and you got to make sure your finger's still attached. So when you get tattooed in the web of your fingers, and I imagine the web of your toes is probably the same, but when you get tattooed there, it's like if you imagine somebody taking that envelope and like slicing you as deep as they can deliberately and how bad that would hurt. It's like half a notch not as bad. It's like half a notch not as bad.
Half a notch, not as
Half a
bad.
notch is
Half
so
a-
like
it's almost that bad.
Does it matter if it's line work or like how the tattoo is applied? Like would stippling hurt less? Because see, I'm trying to think,
It's still gonna hurt.
yeah,
I'm
I think the
wondering-
line work and
That
stippling
area is
hurts
so
more,
sensitive.
but it's gonna hold better.
Yeah, I got a little bit there,
Yeah.
but I don't really remember how that felt.
I don't know if I want to add more to if it's enough for this hand because it goes to the nail bed, but then I could
I see room
do
for a
the
couple more
web
waves in
around
there.
thumb. Or is that like
The area
overkill,
on
you know what
my
I mean?
hand is as we rolled closer into the web, like you can distinctively see where the ink stops holding as well. So he probably stopped there just because it's in like on the inside of my hand, like in here, like you can distinctively see where like ink held, ink held, ink held, and it didn't hold. And like Adam puts it in there. Like he's not, I don't want to say he's brutal, but he's not gingerly. Like he's efficient and he gets it in. You know what I mean? So when on my own hand, I can see where like the knuckles have been hit 3 times and they're still lighter than other areas. Like I can see it. You know what I mean? I can see where the hand holds and where it doesn't. So that's totally changed how I do hands, or at least like this is leading right into our topic of conversation for today. But like the expectation of what a hand will look like after it heals, like after seeing how my own hand has healed, and it's been 3 passes on this, it makes me understand like what areas hold, what areas don't, and like why certain choices were made to make certain lines harder or softer. You know, like the hand is just a different area to tattoo altogether.
Well, I was shocked how the top of the hand don't hurt as much like I thought it would. It's the
not
webbing
horrible.
and your fingers. Like when you get in the knuckle areas, even on the top of your hands, those are a bit gingerly that hurt a bit. I don't know why it did. You know, I mean, it's all bone anyways. Your fingers, tire bone, but over the knuckles, man, that was a bit hard to deal with. And then you got up to the nail bed up here. And oh my God.
It's
That's
definitely
next
a little
level.
more stingy.
Just
like
a bit.
The line work was definitely exhilarating on the fingers.
Exhilarating. That's a fantastic word.
Yeah, like I definitely.
It was exciting.
I was blasting on all cylinders, and every dot was just like an internal ooh, yeah.
Right, stabbing your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I've already got 2 passes.
Jess is like, what are you talking about?
And then we added.
We're talking about hand tattoos, Jess. Do you want to come show yours off? Jess has a beautiful hand tattoo. Come stick it in front of the camera. The screen's pointed our way. You can just put your hand up there. You don't have to put your face up there if you don't want to.
Beautiful hand tattoos.
Wow.
wow.
Austin Yancey did that. He's been a guest on the show. Is that just one
That's
pass,
awesome.
Jess? So that's one pass, but like that's a super
Oh,
good
nice.
example of like they're I think in the very near future going to do a second pass on it. And like I feel like my hand and Jess's hand are some of the more successful color tattoos around. Like not any credit to me, credit to Adam and credit to Austin, but like it's
Chuck's
hard
out
to
pretty
get
well.
color that nice. What's that?
Chuck's hands.
Oh, Chuck's
they're
hands are
colored.
excellent. I mean, in my
They
own
really
personal
held
circle,
amazingly
like
well.
What's funny is, so Elliot Wells did this one, my right one. And that was like a breeze. That really didn't hurt. But then when I had the other one done, I was like, whoa. Like I was like, well, I don't know if it was because it was coil, but I was like, yeah, that hurt. But not as much as the thumb sleeve.
Yikes.
Yeah, that hurt my feelings more because I did it after a neck session. And I was like, you know what? I think the thumb hurt more than the neck. Like, I think I lined the entire side of it. And then
it's
the
a
thumb.
hard little spot. It's hot there.
Yeah, but the beauty of it is Chuck had gotten it done, and we hooked up in New York and the city and that, and he showed me in that, and he was explaining it, and his eyes just bug-eyed. He goes, "Yeah, it hurt my feelings, man." It was like for Chuck to even say that, that's something, man. Because
what about the next day after you get your hands done? Did you guys have full on like boxing mitts? Like,
oh man,
whole
yeah.
hand
No,
puffy?
I had puffy hands, but by the next day I could close them almost fully, about like that. And then the next day after that, was back to normal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's
fingers.
good.
The fingers
Jack
were
was
great.
actually
They were
pretty
tough.
light-handed. So, I wasn't.
Remember, Todd, we went to Vegas, like I got tattooed, and then I went to Vegas like that same day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you got to see them. They were like a little swollen for a day, and then they were like healed like 2 days later. It's like one of the greatest things ever.
So I've got
Nice.
a small collection of tattoos, like fresh and healed, that I pulled off of the old Google. And like, it's just like, we're fortunate enough to have all had the work on our hands done by like good artists who knew what they were doing and did a good job and didn't brutalize us. And you know what I mean? Like, but there are hand tattoos out there that are just disasters. And I just think it's important for like collectors and younger tattooers, or maybe even experienced tattooers, to understand how different the hand tattoo really is. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
the one thing that Jack told me before he even did it, he goes, "You're gonna need a second pass. So just get over that whole thought."
yep, that's just the reality of hand
Yes.
tattoos.
You're just that's what's gonna happen, and accept it. You use your hands a lot, it moves a lot. To me, that's all that I can think of, is that why it wears down so quick or loses it so quickly is because you're using it more than any part of your body, probably.
Yeah, you shed the skin cells on your hands so much more quickly.
That too.
I feel like
says
that was
wish
like such
shit.
a
I
phase.
don't have it pulled up yet.
That was like a phase tattoo to get the side of your fingers done, and you don't really have many other tattoos, if any at
Yeah.
all.
Here's another one. I'm just trying to show like examples of like the reality of these tattoos. I didn't even take the time to figure out who these artists were.
It's a weird thing to get tattooed on your hand. Wish shit.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
But again,
the words.
the inside of your hands are shed even way more than the top. So, when you're doing it, like the palms and that, I mean, you really got to blow the shit out of that to keep it staying in there. And I don't think a lot of these artists that are new are doing it on their home. You know that.
Right.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys like Walker.
I love his work.
That specialize in palms, and I think if you want to get a palm tattoo, go, take yourself on a nice vacation to San Diego. There's a UK guy that's really good as well. Forget his name offhand. Do you remember, Todd?
Who?
The other guy. Oh, Luke Ash. Is it Luke Ashley? Is that the other guy?
I don't think so.
Yeah. think it's like Luke something.
There are definitely people that are better at hand tattoos, and I don't know. I definitely like
It-
when I get the inside of my hands done, I've asked Derb if he would do it for me. I have an idea for one hand, but not the other. But like going into it, I know we're gonna have to hit it probably every few years.
Oh yeah, like. But if it's what you want and you go into it knowing that, I have a friend right now that's just starting the tattoo journey, and she just wants the whole inside of her palms done, with like Lord of the Rings related stuff. And it's been a few months and already falling out.
Mhm.
Already
It's
getting
discouraging. It's discouraging when that happens like early into your collecting, because then maybe you're going to have an apprehension that like all of your tattoos are going to do that. But it's really just our hands are different. We just use them differently than the rest of our body.
It's insane.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend starting on your palms and inner fingers. It's just
This one's a good example of like both how hands heal, but also how like yellows, oranges, pinks are prone to fading. Like it looks like the blues and the grays and maybe a little bit of the lavenders are all that are left in this.
See, that's the other thing. I like to know if the guy ever used sunscreen at all to protect
Mhm.
them or anything like that.
Well, and that's one of the things that I like to take into consideration is like, what does my client do for a living? Like, if they're putting a lot of wear and tear on their body, if they're out in the sun a lot, it's going to make me want to be a little bit more conservative with the colors that I know are going to fade. And it's going to make me want to work more with my like darker and jewel tone scales and like, I don't know, if there's just different variables. And if I know delicate stuff isn't going to hold up on with the lifestyle, then I kind of adjust my palette accordingly. But it's just I'm just talking about the variables and the reality of how these things look. This is a good one, I think. This is fresh and healed, and this looks good healed for a hand.
It does. I was gonna say that.
Like this is very good. This is like best case scenario for one pass on a hand. Could this be hit again like we were talking about earlier today? Could they call this finished and leave it like that? Absolutely. That looks great for a hand tattoo. The knuckles are always going to be a little bit softer, like things like that. Like that's just the reality of hand
it's
tattoos.
never gonna look as bright as when it's first done.
No.
But you can definitely go back in and saturate it to a certain extent.
Mhm.
But it's also
Bring that yellow out more again.
It's kind
She
of like
lost a lot of the yellow.
the reality is like if you're going to get hand tattoos, you got to go into it knowing that there's going to be maintenance. Like it's not that we're saying don't do it. It's just the reality is if this is what you choose to do, it's going to take multiple passes. Even if you have the best of the best do it. It's just how our bodies heal.
Yeah, always.
Well, like the inside of your palms, you're shedding skin all the time. That's the other thing. It's just gonna fade out just by your body regenerating new skin.
And you can see like this one just happens to be a good example of like you can see the areas of the palm that touch things more, and like those are the areas that the ink just comes right out. And it's just the reality of it. That skin is more callousy. We use it totally differently. Like
Yeah, I mean every like centimeter on your hand skin is so inconsistent. It goes from wrinkle to callus to fresh skin to callus to wrinkle to fresh skin.
Well, the other
So when
thing
you're running that
too
needle,
is
you get so many little like the needle's just going up and down, hitting every bump.
here's a picture of a hand tattoo healing. Here we go. That looks about right.
Ooh,
It's a little extra,
A little extra.
little extra, yeah.
little cut.
Yeah, this all looks like it's about to just peel and flake everywhere.
yeah. I
Well,
But that's the one thing about the inside of your hand. Your feelings are definitely going to be hurt. tremendously.
Definitely.
I like that. That's what you guys say. Your feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Sometimes you need, life to beat you down, and what else besides an extremity tattoo to make you evaluate your decisions,
Fair enough.
Oh, for sure. There's a video of Oliver Peck getting his hand done.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's- I mean, he was jumping out of that chair every 5 seconds.
It hurts. It takes a lot to just sit and deal with it. The hand is something else. I mean, you get through it, you live, but like there are parts that are pretty brutal.
Yeah, mine almost took the spirit out of my body. Like there's
That's
touch,
the
man.
heel. That's
Yeah.
heel.
This is the healed. I
That's
don't
the
know what
heel.
order I pulled them up in.
Yeah, that's the heel.
Yes. I should have taken a moment to put these side by side. Okay. So here's the fresh photo. And then I'm
It's
going to
the
pull
day
up
after.
the next one going to be the polarized one?
That's the one that the day that we got it done. That's the next day after, right there.
Okay, pull up the next one. And this was day of, correct?
That's day of, yeah.
It's such a great example of like
Very cool.
how well done and how dark. Like this is such a well done tattoo or pair of tattoos. I don't know how you count it.
My
But, like,
right lost more than my left, though. Like where the skull and the teeth are, a lot of that is faded out on me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, if only tattoos could look healed like they do fresh, that would be.
Yeah, you can see it in that, how it did by the knuckle there.
Yeah, it's a little bit lost, the teeth, now that you mention it.
But this is
Mhm.
still an
But-
excellent heel for a hand tattoo. And
Yeah,
that's
yes,
that's
still
the whole
dark.
point that we're trying to make. This is like the best
Mhm.
case scenario of how a hand could heal. Like you lost a little bit down here, but like so much is still there. Like it's
Yes.
a little bit splotchy, but that's because of how you use your hands. That just is what it is.
Yeah, you could
Um,
still see what it is. I mean, it's still
Yeah, it's still amazing tattoo.
legible.
mhm. Yep.
You know, the world got fucked, so I haven't had a chance to get my second pass on it yet. Or
Oh,
I
you
would
got
have
you
had it.
guys
Well,
you guys planned a second
well,
pass from the start.
yeah, and then Jack had immigration problems coming over here and that, so that sort of put a kibosh on it for a bit, and then COVID hit, and
Yeah.
you know,
For only one pass, that looks fantastic, Todd. That I mean,
it
it's,
does.
I know we put it's we're putting stuff out here and we're being honest about it, but that's good. That's great. And that's like the best case scenario of how a hand can heal or hands can heal with one pass. And that's what
And,
I want collectors to be aware of.
and it's a testament to your artist too, of their
Mhm.
skill, to be
Yep.
able to get a hand to hold like that. Because I've
Mhm.
seen other people that get their hands done, and by the time it's healed and that, they've lost way more than what I lost. And I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, how's, but again, everyone's different, and I don't want to bash everyone that,
Yeah, everyone's got
Make
hands
it
hands are so different from one person to the
Yeah.
next. Like skin texture on hands is, I think, probably the place where it's the most drastically different from person to person.
Oh
Wouldn't you
yeah.
say?
especially if
Yeah,
they're
some
in the
people
sun
are
a lot.
Mhm. Some
They're
people have more
leathery.
calloused hands. Yep, more leathery
Mhm.
hands.
Some people just don't like accept ink as well as others, I guess. For me, I just soak it in, luckily. But some people have leathery skin. Sometimes they have, different melanin.
Right. And some people just
Um,
have really thin skin too. And who knows the artist you went to too. And sometimes they might be a little more heavy handed too. And you just kind of easier to go a little bit deeper on a hand. And so like that in effect might heal out a little bit lighter later.
Whew. It was rough. This whole conversation's taken me back. It
I
was
know
rough.
Adam's going to be doing my hand at some point. Pretty sure.
You get ready. He likes those webs.
I'm either thinking it would either be Brandon or Brandon. It would either be Adam or well, yeah, I was gonna say Brandon. Brandon Herrera or
Good choice.
Jesse Levitt.
Mhm.
But I kind of really do want Adam to do a big old hand piece, but there's
I don't know. Jesse Levitt's
Decisions,
stuff is pretty
decisions.
grotesque and beautiful all
Right.
at the same
oh
time.
man,
There's-
like how could you
I got
incorporate
Jesse
tell him
on
to
me.
incorporate some warm glow into like something opening up?
What'd
Something
Jesse do on you,
nasty?
Todd? I don't remember.
My knee.
Oh, I didn't. I
What do you got?
totally
like a
forgot
nasty
that he
mouth
had
or an
worked on
eyeball
you.
or something?
No.
Was that the zipper one with
No.
the bird skull with the zipper?
Yeah.
I love the zippers. Zipper me timbers.
Yeah, I got a crazy Jesse piece too.
Do you?
Yeah.
One year I was getting worked on by Adam, and Derb just happened to be walking through Red Tree at the old location, and he was like, Jesse Levitt just confirmed for Hell City. I was like, really? Messaged him right there. I was like, so I was sitting at Red Tree getting worked on, and Derb said you just confirmed. I'd love to make an appointment. So it was kind of nice to like just hear that he had confirmed and slide in before he could make a post about scheduling.
Nice.
Yeah, just lock it in. You're like, yes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I only have a few black and gray pieces, but I just love it's grotesque and beautiful at the same time. I love bio that's both like gross and morbid, but is still pretty and delicate. And I think he does a really good job
Yep,
pulling
Sam's.
those things off.
Yeah, definitely. I got an extremity tattoo from him. He did the inner arch of my foot.
Nice.
And that was an impromptu session as well, so it wasn't really planned, but his client had just bailed in Pasadena, and so just like, you're here, I'm here, like what do I got left to work with? And so boom, ended up with like a bird skull on my inner foot, like and that healed pretty good too for one pass. I'm pretty impressed because it was like an experiment to see, since it literally goes to the bottom of the foot.
Damn, nice.
Yeah, I got tattooed by Jesse at Hell City, Phoenix.
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the picture right now. You guys know I'm slow at this, right?
No worries.
I sent you a heel pic too.
There we go. So we got this one.
Oh yeah, that's so dope. Crazy. Oh, I see. Real zipper. Real teethy.
Yeah,
zipper.
Megan did that.
Nice.
The zipper.
I was thinking of the old bio zipper effect. That
The
I
zipper
feel
mech?
like- yeah, zipper mech stuff. That's super dope though. I like the little teeth.
Yeah, I got a Megan zipper too. It's like vertebra instead of teeth though,
Yeah, nice.
like a spine.
Hell yeah.
Let me see if I
Yeah,
can.
that's
pull up
Todd and I
charts.
are zipper mementos.
Yeah, from Megan.
How far down is the picture? Do you have a picture of your foot on your page, Chuck? I know you do.
Yeah, let me.
I'm searching for it right now. There it is. I believe.
You got it?
I believe this is it. Is this the one?
No, it's
No,
it's on that's on my
Who
left.
did this one?
Ouch.
That was Vincent Castiglia.
Very cool.
Yeah, that one was a murderous session. I
I heard-
Oh, here's a video of the session.
Sounds
oh, with the whites, yeah. That, on the Achilles tendon, it is
like
disgusting.
someone's flying sounds like a fucking drone in there.
Oh man, yeah,
I'm enjoying reliving this with you, Chuck.
yeah. I thought it was gonna be like a easy session, but man, that was not cool.
Yikes.
But I mean,
It
Like-
looks dope as fuck though, but yikes.
Yeah, it needed to be done. I'm paying the price, paying the piper or whatever in order to get that full coverage. So
Oh,
sometimes,
here's the Jesse one. I found it. I
okay.
knew it as soon as I saw it.
Heck yeah.
You can tell Jesse's work. Way, man, that's the beauty about his work.
Here it is.
Yeah, so that's on the inner right foot, tying into a rember piece, and then you could see the bone zipper it's tying into with Megan, and then Shane Baker did the
This one here. Is this what you're talking about? This tying up?
yeah. So you could see I like the mixing the artist and then just like with different styles or even the same ones and just seeing how they tie it all in. I don't know. There's just something neat about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that I don't recommend that spot to anybody. Unless, but the thing is, so when that spot was skin, when there wasn't that bird skull, it didn't feel as cohesive to me. I was like, that's just another blank spot. Like I had the top of the toe, the top of the foot, the toes, and then that arch just seemed like it needed something.
Something just needed to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people think about stuff like that or worry about it for their.
Both of my
even-
feet are pretty well covered. Like mine don't they come down to my toes, but they don't come onto my toes. And then like the tops
Back in a
and
few
sides are
spots,
pretty
gotta do
well like
somewhere.
covered.
Yeah, the toes are excessive. I'll admit that much. But I mean, it's just another thing to conquer as far
Mhm.
as
It's not going to kill you. It's just one of those like temporary things that you just got to sit through because you committed to sitting through it. And once it's over with, you did
curiosity
it.
killed the cat. I mean, I had Brian Geckel did my toes at Hell City, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer. It wasn't as bad as I remembered, like getting between the toes.
We've got another guest, Seer. Todd's dog chilling with us.
Nice.
Sorry, my favorite distractions. There was a squirrel.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to get my toes done at a convention. Like, oof. I don't know. I had some pretty painful areas done at a convention, and I think the spicy spots do them in comfort. Do them in comfort.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
start to get real uncomfortable.
I just
Yeah,
feel like
that's-
it's like
soul becomes-
added
soul
stress on
becomes-
top of the pain.
Soul becomes uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
becomes a challenge after a while. Like I did almost all the aggressive spots at conventions, like the armpits and the knees and 3-day back to back. I don't know what's wrong with me, to be honest, but
You're a glutton for punishment. That's what's wrong with you. I mean, it's okay. No judgment. This is a good way to punish yourself for whatever you feel like you need to. But like for some reason, there's like
yeah, you want
glutton for
something
punishment.
outwardly to show for the pain you feel inwardly.
Mhm.
Now, what better than something nice to look at?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then at least you've got something that like you love to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have nightmares about waking up and my tattoos would be gone and they'd be replaced by like scratcher garbage. And I'd be like, what did I do? Like, what happened? Like,
Oh.
like these identity crisis. Like, how the hell? Like, I have to laser this immediately. Who scribbled on me? Like,
Wake up sweating so
Have
hard.
you ever like woken up or like thought you woke up and you had a face full of tattoos where it's like, and then you're like, nah, I'm dreaming. This isn't real life. Has that happened yet?
no face tattoos, but it would be like the go-away sleeve would be gone and it would just be trash, like a pile just had at my hand and arm, and like that. I guess for some reason that was like a fear, or just like having like visibly atrocious, not just bad, you know what I mean? There's plenty of people that just have like average stuff, but I'm talking like bad, like sucky tattoos, bad on.
Yeah.
And for me, that just messes with my OCD, because I've always been fascinated with painters and the arts since elementary school. So
I actually sent this rad video to share from Sucky Tattoos. I think it was Sucky Tattoos. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But where'd it go?
the one from today, or
Oh, it's from off of Failed Tat. Let me screen share this. Failed Tat is what this page is called.
I liked the oh yeah,
Sound. Did you see this guy?
yeah. I guess that's like the trend now, is to get all these little tattoos, because oh yeah. This is,
So
what
this
I
is
mean.
your nightmare, is waking up as this guy.
Be real, XXX. Yeah. I mean, God bless him. If he's that
See
might
the
have looked
giant
like a staph infection. I don't know what that thing was, but that was not
his
yeah.
hand's all scabbed up. Look at that.
Oh, I stopped sharing already.
Oh yeah, his hand is all scabbed. He's got a tree he's got.
So some people are proud of their kitchen tats, and that's, if that's what they want, well, they got it. That
Such
to
a
me,
funny trend right now.
Exactly.
Like one of the lessons that I like to like get through to people is like the real estate lesson, like the plan ahead, the like, don't get your arms tattooed, not because like don't get your arms tattooed, but like wait so you get something that you love on your arms. Don't get your like the painful places, like don't just fill them up with like little rinky dink things, when like if you're going to go through the pain, get something worthwhile and worth showing off and like worth telling the story. I think a lot of people are getting tatted to get tatted, and they don't even care about the story they're telling or the image they're giving. And like in reality, like I don't know, I want to be proud of my body. I want to be proud of my tattoos, and like I want people to be interested and to look. And I want people, like when people see my tattoos, I don't want them to like turn away or like pass judgment. I want them to be interested and curious and
that
ask
is art.
questions. Yeah.
Right.
It's
I think
not
I,
just
I think the
glittered.
I think the
Well-
kitchen tattoo thing kind of just speaks a little bit of character and stuff. It just shows that you're
Like,
the
oh,
kind
you're
of
impulsive.
you're the kind of person who's very impulsive. You take the easiest route.
You want the
And
cheapest.
there's probably a reason why you don't have enough money to do other things. So you should get money and work on rooting yourself in life a little bit more. But you're probably just getting those because you want to create the look of something, and you're probably want to be social a lot, or you need this look. You want people to-
tatted.
right?
I got a
Getting
story
tatted.
about wanting people to like your tattoos and that, right? So I'm in Vegas playing poker at the Golden Nugget, and it was a seniors event. God, I'm saying that out loud. But so I'm playing it, and then the one woman that comes to my table is a poker legend. Her name's Susie Isaacs, and I've known Susie for years. And she comes up, we were playing in that, and she goes, "Wow, that's a awesome tattoo on your hand." So I show her what it is, and she was really impressed by it then. And she's going, "Wow, I didn't know they could do something like that." Right. And that just made my day. Because
That's the best reaction when somebody's like truly like somebody that might not have considered tattoos as an art when they see something and they're like, oh, I didn't know. Like that's the best when you show somebody what is possible.
Mhm.
Yes, and people who've seen Susie over the years knows what a amazing person she is. She's one of the most nicest people I ever meet. Really is. Who she reminds me of in this industry is I know some of you know Carol Cunningham,
Mhm.
and she reminds me a lot of Carol. That niceness, you know, really polite to people, that type of person. That was her. That's Susie. And it just made my day because, you know, Susie can be a bit judgmental about some people, man. I've seen her post about some of the people that would play at poker and that, and how she hates them and that.
I don't know. When somebody sweet says they don't like you, it just hurts extra. Like,
Yeah. You know, for Susie to get upset, you must really get on her nerves because, you know, that woman's seen it all.
Well, they also say to never meet your idols because they're either going to disappoint you or they're just an asshole. But
Right.
that's not always
Not
the
so much an
case.
idol. I just respect her ability as a player. You know, she was the last woman to almost make the final table. She bubbled it. And that's an accomplishment in itself to get down to 10
mhm.
and almost make the World Series at the main event of the World Series. Yeah, that tells you how good you are. And
There's not that many women that are, like really play poker like that in comparison to men, are there?
There's more now, but it still
Now.
only makes up like
Mhm.
5 to 10% of the field, but definitely less than 10.
Yeah.
It would be a good move if I think women would get more, I don't know, leeway. Like I think if they actually studied the game and knew it, they could kind of run over some guys. But
they can, but the problem is that
it's just another
there's guys that
sleaze.
are always shooting at women. That's the other point. You know, I mean, women are picked on more at a poker table than any other player at the table.
It's
Because
also
there's always the male chauvinist there that's going to go, I'm going to show her, you know, and that's how it is. I mean, I feel bad for some women because for them to be as good as they are, and there's quite a few that are now, they have to endure a lot. I mean, it's almost like a female tattoo artist.
I was just going to say
Doing
there's a funny thing that happens when somebody, and even earlier on in my career, because like as I was learning to tattoo, I was still confident as an artist. So like I had that, but like anytime I would meet another tattooer and their attitude was like, you sit on back, little girl, I'll show you how it's done. I'd just be like, okay. Every now and then it would be somebody that I could actually learn from, but 9 times out of 10, like they wouldn't have clients lined up. They wouldn't have anything scheduled ahead. They wouldn't have drawings. They'd be telling me to sit back. Let me show you how it's
Just
done. But it's really
overcompensating
like,
for
it's really more
everything.
like you sit on back now and let me show you what not to do. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I did learn from you. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me
But-
puff up my chest a little bit.
But I can only
Don't
imagine
get
what
me
it would be
wrong.
like at a poker table. Like my friends that play poker, they're a different crowd.
I just
So
came
I can
back.
imagine when it just takes 1 or 2 personalities out at the table to get carried away, you know. And
Yeah, I went on
Women
Sunday
can-
night, played all night at the Borgata, just mostly to play poker.
I gotta pee, guys. I'll be
And-
right back.
Sure. It was pretty intense because I sit down, buy in for 300, win the first hand, second hand, I get a really big hand, and this guy goes all in for 800. I'm like, man, I just sat down, and then this other person goes all in. And I'm like, all right, I guess I might have to reload already in the second hand.
What was your big hand? Did you have aces? Did you really?
So I
Or you
only
have
had
kings?
pocket 4s.
Oh, well then fuck, man, that's a fold all day.
No, but he only made it 10. He he minimum raised the aces, and I hit a set on the flop, and he went all in.
Well, then there you go. You're stuck there. I mean, you're not folding in that instance. I
Yeah,
thought this was pre-flop, man.
yeah, this is pre. So, oh no, it wasn't all in pre. No. On the, I saw the flop for cheap, but yeah, there's a lot of degenerates in the poker world. It all boils down to, it's a competitive game that involves high stakes, and people are playing for their rent money sometimes, and people are really shady. I mean, like,
Fortunately, I think the people that I know that play poker, and granted, we're in Ohio, so these are like friendly games at local like moose halls or like the upstairs or basement of other businesses. But they're literal friendly games. But like the kind of people that are playing, they're people that are like well enough off that they can afford
yeah,
to lose. You know what I mean? I feel like if there were like the shadier cats at the table, I feel like the whole game would be totally different. Like I don't play, but I've definitely hung out and like just chilled while games were going on. And I feel like it's it's a friendly game. Everybody's friends. They're all different business owners around town. It's more like a social gathering, but like the trash talking of each other. Like these guys are brutal and they're best friends with one another. So I could only imagine if there was like the one person that they were all ganged up against, like the whole psychological game gets crazy.
yeah, you kind of have to, because like a lot of people with the biggest personalities are sometimes smaller in stature, and so they carry themselves through vocally or other competitive ways that don't include physical prowess. And,
Well, what I have found is that some of the louder voices at the table are some of the weakest players at the table, because they're like trying to convince you that they're good. Because anyone can have a good
Peacocking.
session.
yeah,
Anyone can have a good session at any given moment. All right, it's a course of time where it matters. Okay, but there are guys out there that you can tell over a course of time they're losing players by just how much they rig and crow.
Mhm.
yeah, it makes it that much more fun if you bust them, and you beat them, and then you take all their money, and then they either have to buy back in or they walk away with their tail between their legs. So yeah, but
The problem is people got to learn to walk away from the table, sometimes a loser, and to do it gracefully. I mean, if you get busted and you have to walk away, you just sort of, you don't want them to ever think like you screwed up. You just walk away like, hey, it wasn't my night. And sometimes it's like that. But you see guys, once they're busted, they can't keep their mouth shut. I would have got you if I would have hit that, or Chuck knows.
It's so funny.
wait,
You got lucky.
yeah, oh man, yeah, like I said, I played all night the other night, and I was up over $2,000 from the 300 at one point. So there were people coming after me, and a bunch of people got lucky to beat me, and instead of leaving up a few thousand, I left a few hundred. But I mean, I played till 9 a.m. and just drank all night, and I just blew off some steam. So
sounds like a night well spent.
yeah, I mean, that was one way that I used to pay for my tattoos in the early days, was just go to a casino close to where my buddy Marvin was living at the time, in Connecticut, and just go to Foxwoods, win, I don't know, 700, 1,000, something like that, and then just be like, all right, here you go. And that's how we chipped away at like the full back piece was
It's a cool way
Pretty
to
much.
do it.
Yeah. So it was fun because I felt like, I was making something appear like if, if someone, if rent money is on the line and you're in a game that, you could still lose even if you make the right decision,
Right.
which also makes it nerve wracking. But if 7 or 8 times out of 10, I would like pull something out of the air. It amplifies like
This is how I know I'm not a
the
gambler,
intensity.
because like I'd be like, oh no,
Yeah, like you really,
no, then I'm gonna have to scramble and figure something out. Like, nope. But like
yeah.
at the same time, the few times that I do gamble, like sometimes I'll sit and play Keno when we're having lunch
Oh
or
my
something
God,
with
the
a couple
worst
of
odds
friends.
ever.
I do good at Keno. I usually play
Yeah, but
4
that's the
numbers
worst.
and
That's the worst odds in the
Yeah,
whole casino.
I just I usually play like the Ohio Keno here. I've never played Keno at a casino. But
The
it's
odds
just
are the same. It don't
Yeah.
matter.
that's
It's Keno.
I'm just saying that's the extent of my gambling. Is like, oh, I'm having a meal and I'll spend 10 or 20 bucks on Keno while I'm sitting here. And like, it's almost, for me, it's more like a time passer. Like I can just sit and kind of watch for my numbers to come up. And the funny thing is that like, we were at one of the places that we used to play at for lunch the other day, and I'm sitting and I'm watching the screen, and like it was just as exhilarating to watch my 4 numbers come up, even if I didn't have any money in the pot. It was like, oh, my numbers hit. And she was like, but you're not playing. I was like, yeah, but they hit.
It's
They hit all the
funny.
time.
It's funny you mentioned that because I don't think I've seen any Keno parlors in the casino lately in Vegas. Because I don't play it. I ignore it, man. I mean, that's for carnival players to me. But now that I think about it, Keno used to be in every casino. That's the thing back in the day, because all the old people would play it. It's a 50-cent bet. They go and they fill out their forms, and there's a drawing every 10 minutes. So they're having their little fun. But yeah, I don't think that's so much anymore, because they got all those Keno machines now and that.
Yep.
So I think that's where it's went to.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the extent of my game. Like if I go to Vegas, I'll hit the slot machines and stuff. But like in reality, I look at it more like I'm playing a video game. Like I'll get up and then I'll come back down. But it's literally like my strategy is, how long can I make this money last? It's not like my goal is even to win. It's like I just want to keep playing while my friends are playing without like going broke. So
I don't know how anybody wins on slot machines. I mean, like
Except me.
Well,
he knows
your
it.
wife
He
or
sees it.
you?
Well, both.
I guess you just have the
my
Irish
wife
luck.
has. Yeah, well, my wife has hit a couple times big on slots, so she has.
I've been with a friend of mine who hit big 2 different times, and he's like, you don't understand how much money I've given these people. They owed me this. Like, he doesn't even look at it. He's like, they're just giving me a little bit back after all I've spent over the years. Like,
Yeah,
We're not
that's the
putting a lot of
thing.
money in the machines. That's just it. It's just there to pass a little time until your tables open up. I mean, it's not like that's your main focus of doing something at the casino. It's never is. So
yeah, we're usually killing time until like our next show or till the next time we meet up with homies to go see whatever thing we're going to see. It, like the casino time in Vegas is our in between, not our destination, if that makes sense.
Right.
no, I get a lot of people do that. That's probably 99% of Vegas. That's how those places got built.
Yeah.
Killing time.
Yeah, it is. Truly, it is. I mean, if you're in Vegas a lot, you see the locals come, and a lot of the local population is retired, because that's where they go. They go retire to Vegas. It used to be cheap. It's not so cheap anymore. So, but there's a huge portion, and every morning they're in there with their coffee, and they're playing their little games every morning. That's their routine.
It's actually
Yeah.
kind of cool if you either stay up all night or get up early enough to like go walk around Vegas at like 6 a.m. Just walk to casinos as like people are leaving for the night and like the new shift of gamblers are coming in during the day. Like that's probably like I'm not a morning person at all, but those like 6 to 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning in Vegas, maybe let's say 5 to 8 a.m. It's a super weird time, but it's the best time to people watch.
Yeah, because the young crowd's going to bed and the old ones are coming out for their morning to start their day. That's how it is. I mean, mostly in the morning, it's old people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my
It
favorite
is.
time to just like walk around casino to casino and like people watch. And usually I stay downtown. The Golden Nugget's my favorite place to stay at. So usually I'm walking
Like the
around.
Nugget.
Nugget's my favorite. I like, but I'm also a glass collector. So like their curated collection is just up my alley. Like I'll just explore on the different floors just to see what else they've got hanging. Like security's got to wonder what I'm up to sometimes. Like, no, I'm just looking at
Yeah,
the
but
eye
you gotta
candy.
go to
I swear.
Bellagio. You want glass work, you go to Bellagio.
Bellagio's
Yeah.
beautiful as well. They've got the huge like atrium with all the Chihuly glass.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love that bit going in there because it's just so amazing to look at.
I want to go back sometime in the near future and take a walk through like where all the murals and stuff are coming up downtown. I'd like to walk that area again and get some footage of
The art
all the
district.
new stuff that's coming up. Yeah, it's just growing so fast. I'm just so
Yeah,
curious.
yeah, the
Like,
art district has changed so much in 5 years. It just really has.
yep.
Um,
Um,
It's a vibrant community down there now. It
Yeah,
really is.
I can't believe the murals everywhere. Everybody was telling me, but like when we went live, when I was out in Vegas last time, like I only touched on like a fraction of
What's
the
out there.
downtown arts district. Like it's
Mhm.
amazing how that's come up and everybody seems to love it. There's not every now and then you'll see little tags over like some things, but for the most part, like it's cut way back on the graffiti. Like it seems like the graffiti artists aren't trashing the good art, which is cool to see. But it's just nice to go from all that like there
Yeah,
was
but
like
they-
3 miles of desolate and now it's all bright and colorful and beautiful.
Vegas is hard on graffiti artists, so that's another reason why you don't see as much of it out there as
Good.
say
I mean-
other cities.
Mhm.
They find them, they go after them. They
Good.
don't want any of that.
Yeah, I'm all for artists leaving their mark, but there's a difference between like having permission and leaving a mark that's supposed to be there and like ruining something that somebody else is proud of, be it a
Mhm.
landscape, be it a building, be it a painting,
Well, you've been out there, you know how all the underpasses are all new and all that. They
Mhm.
don't want them tagging any of that. They spend all those millions on it. They want it to look good. They don't
Yeah.
want it.
Yeah. There are so many international travelers that come to Vegas
Exactly.
as well that there's importance to making it not look like a hovel, I guess.
Yeah, unless they get like Adrian Dominic to do some large scale, because a lot of the graffiti artists, they're just not good. There's an artistry to graffiti as well. I mean, it's just another
Yes.
medium. So, it was commissioned, then I think that would be awesome. But yeah, otherwise, if it's just, small doodles, like that's not appealing to anybody to look
Right.
at. Like that's just the selfish tag. I just, it reminds me of this article I was reading yesterday, like some kids defaced like some 4,000-year-old rock art, and they put like their name and hearts or whatever, like 4 people, and then the date, and it's like some people they're just mindless.
I usually hate that, but there's this park that I've been to in Oklahoma. I believe it's the Red Rocks in Oklahoma, but it's like this state park that's like set down in a basin, and there's like these like red not limestone, sandstone, like rock walls all over the place. And you can tell people come there to like climb and do things like that. But if you go to the back of one of the camping areas, there's like this, it's like the wall dips down and it's just this exposed red rock. And people have been carving their names and like their significant others in the year they were there for like so long that it's probably like maybe 20 feet tall by like 45 feet wide, but it's just names after names after names. But it's like one designated area. It's not the whole park. Like
Yeah,
if
that's
people
totally-
could do something like that, where it's like, okay, here's an area that's a shared art place. And obviously this is the place to do this if you want to make a mark. But
Yeah,
when
then
people are
it's
careless and just
fun.
trash things everywhere.
Yeah, now people don't have integrity anymore. They just like party and then leave their baggies or their cartridges or whatever in the streets. It's like
Mhm.
but I think even, do you guys remember the gum trees? And when you'd be at like an amusement park or a water park.
Oh yeah, yeah.
there'd
Every
be,
now and then
like,
you'll see a
that-
gum wall still where people
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Seattle's got that in Pike's Place. It's disgusting. It's like a famous spot where people go, and it's literally like just this like tunnel tube that goes down probably like 100, 200 feet, and it's just 100% caked on cake of gum.
ugh,
And people are like touching it and taking pictures with it. And I'm just like, this is literally the biggest, most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. While people are like, look like they came there from like China to go fucking check it out.
Jordan was unimpressed. You know what I do like, or where you see like you'll see like overpasses or bridges or like just designated fences in areas. Vegas has a couple down by Container City, but where people come and they'll like put their padlocks on together, and then that just grows and grows and grows and ends up being like a ball of padlocks that are all locked together.
Well, Paris had that.
Probably a
yeah,
lot of weight.
Amsterdam has that
Mhm.
too.
I think that's
Paris had
awesome.
that, but they
Yeah, I was gonna
cut
bring
all
that
those
up.
down.
I'm sure that was a pain
Yeah,
in the
I've
ass.
seen that before. That's awesome. I do like that. Where I don't like it is if they're tagging like historical,
Mhm.
archaeological places that have stood, thousands of years. That's a big problem,
Yeah.
But
Well, even like places in the United States and some of the like national parks where there are petroglyphs and things like that, like you'll see that
Yeah.
people have gone and carved on like this is history and you're ruining it. Like it's
Yeah.
not cool that you're carving your name into it. Like if you would have found another rock that had no significance, like okay, maybe carve your name into that for people to
Cool, now
find
people get to
300
be
years
pissed at you
later.
for another
They'll say
10,000
like
years.
Jacob was here, great.
A million years from now, people would be like, what the fuck?
Or people that just like put obscenities like deliberately on places. Like, really, you had to put a dong there? Like, was that necessary?
Yeah, I think
Like, of all the things, that's what you chose. All right.
I think the fines are too lenient. I think it shouldn't just be like a slap on the wrist and like 500 to 5,000. It should be like 50,000. Like your wages are going to be garnished for like 20 years. Like if this is a 4,000-year-old piece of art, you know what I mean? And you have no respect. Like I don't care about what people say. I care about their actions. Like
Mhm.
actions speak louder than words. So if you're
It's something that's lasted 4,000 years. I mean, there's no reason for anyone to touch it. I mean,
yeah, so
it's
if you
definitely something
deface-
that's
you should have like 50 years of your life to think about how you deface something that's been around, thousands of years.
Yeah, I feel like it might sound a little elitist, but definitely if you are that ignorant still and you don't have that kind of common sense to have respect for history like that.
Yeah,
then-
if you're like
I mean,
a
that just comes
minor-
with being a part of society, is understanding that common sense. Like it's not like anyone is like, oh, I didn't really think that was going to be that bad of a thing. You're just carving on a 4,000-year-old cave painting.
But if you're a grown adult, there's really no excusing your behavior. I mean, you're just doing something bad for the sake of doing something bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I don't know. I just wouldn't. Like, I love communing with old things. And, you know, I've talked about like the time that I spend in like cemeteries and things like that. Like, I love putting my hands on those carved surfaces. I love communing with the artists that did this. I love like respecting the history. Like, I love having that hands on. But would I ever think of chipping away at it or carving into it? The thought wouldn't even cross my mind. That's the
Yeah, who
boggling
spray
thing.
paints tombstones and knocks them over. What kind of degenerate does that? You know what I mean? That I think that's someone that should be like publicly shamed. And you know, like it, it's just there's
You
no
like,
nothing you can say will justify knocking over tombstones
And unfortunately, it happens a lot. Like, you'll see, like, you'll drive past a little country. There's one in particular that's in between Marion and Columbus that I used to drive by all the time. And one day I'm driving along, and I was like, all those monuments were knocked down. And I had somebody in the car with me and they were like, what? I was like, at that cemetery back there, all the headstones were knocked down. She was like, I wouldn't have even noticed. So I put my car in reverse and like, sure enough, every single headstone had been toppled over. And a few days later, it was on the front page of the paper. I don't know if they caught who did it or if they knew who it was, but like, why would you? Like, first of all, what's
Yeah.
the motivation? Second of all, what do you get out of it? And like, third, like, why would you? Just
yeah, the karma alone is
why
gonna
would
your
you?
life
Yeah.
is over if you do that. How do you live with
your
yourself?
life is over if you do that.
Yeah. If you're worried about breaking a mirror or
You're out
anything
there
like
knocking
that,
down gravestones for the fucking sake of it.
you're going to get haunted.
For no
A lot.
reason?
Something bad's going to
Yes.
happen to you in life. At some point in life, that bad thing's going to find you and it's probably going to kill you. You're probably not going to live through it. So don't knock down gravestones because you're going to die.
And
It'll
this
kill
is
you.
why I'm paranoid about life in general. Like, you know, one mistake, you know, one car accident, one time you go out, you cross the street wrong. So I'm like, just keep it to getting tattooed, you know, read a lot about art and go to museums and try not to get hit by a bus.
Right.
You know, like on the way to,
Keep it simple. Keep it safe.
yeah, I'm trying, but it's so hard these days, you know.
It's harder and harder. Just
Yeah,
driving on the road. Just driving on the road in general is scary nowadays. Like I
Yeah,
encounter
it's-
so many dumb drivers day to day, and I'm like, damn, I can be so careful, but there are so many assholes. Not even like aggressive drivers or like defensive drivers, just
not
straight
paying attention.
ignorant idiots. Well, I wouldn't even say they're not paying attention. Just don't give a shit. Just like I'm gonna drive. I'm just gonna weave in and out of fucking cars.
I'm just going to make a lane that doesn't exist.
right.
Yeah, that happened to me
Parsons
last
is
night.
the worst.
I'm driving down the road and this woman just comes out. I thought she was gonna go into the turn lane because, you know, I'm driving like I'm supposed to. I have the right of way, and she comes. I had to literally go all the way over the other lane because she would have slammed right into me. And I'm like,
Fucking idiots.
the fuck, man? I'm right there. What, you that blind or what?
or not wearing their glasses, or elderly, or inexperienced. I don't know.
Yeah, if I would have been paying attention, she would have slammed into me. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody I see on the road. There's
So
no
then it
one
leads-
that I think that they're gonna make the decision I think they're gonna make. I in my brain go, this person's gonna fuck up. Let me stay in a position that's not going to allow what they're going to do to affect me. I think I go
So-
about life a lot like that.
The problem with my paranoia is, would I rather be in control of the, like, the automobile or whatever, or do I just give it over, you know, to the pilot, or let someone else drive? Like, it's hard to tell, like, what the best route, the
I get
safest
car
route.
sick pretty easily when other people are driving, and it's worse if I'm in the back seat. And like, over time, I have deduced that it's anxiety. It's not motion sickness. Like when I was younger, I thought it was motion sickness from being in the back seat or being like in a different position. But like, it's truly the control freak in me. It's the like my life is safer in my hands than yours. Do you value your life as much as I value mine? Like, are you sure you know how to navigate this giant machine with wheels? Like, I'm pretty
I love handing
comfortable.
the reins over, but I also love driving. So like it does not affect me at all to sit in the passenger seat for as long as possible, but I also can be I have no problem being the one driving for 24 hours.
I kind of
I-
feel
see,
like it's
I
a
don't wanna
weakness
be
of
the-
mine.
I don't want to be the passenger in my dad's car. I'd rather drive.
I think it depends on who I'm driving with, you know, because if I'm driving, I can keep myself busy, my mind occupied the whole time. If I'm in the passenger seat with someone I can't stand being in the car with, and the conversation's just horrible and just bored as shit the entire time, like that's kind of torture. But that's also
Yeah,
very rare. I can't even remember the last time I've been in that position. It's been at least like 3 years. I tend to be
Yeah, I
around
did
people that annoy the shit out of me.
a good tattoo tour last year, and it was just myself, so I basically had to entertain myself. But like driving to New Hampshire, like I don't know, 6-7 hours. It gives you time to just like listen to every song that you want to listen to. Like you're basically in the driver's seat. But
Mhm.
then, like when I was just coming back from Atlantic City, I had a friend that's well-meaning, but kind of triggers me because his way of talking is just to ask questions and questions and questions. And that's the thing. And it's like, oh man, like when he passed out on the ride back,
You were like,
I was
silence,
relieved.
silence.
Yeah. But then if I'm in the back seat too, like, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to drive for a change. Like I might get motion sickness from being on my phone at reading like article after article. So I'm like, I don't know. Like I trust myself in the driver's seat, but it's just like, you know, I don't know if you've ever experienced the elation of just getting tattooed and then being promptly arrested after it. But it's very jarring
You said promptly arrested.
following. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
not promptly, but within, you know, and you're just trying to go home,
Flowers.
you know.
That
Yeah.
would be the worst.
Yikes.
That would be the worst ever.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dirty jail with a fresh tattoo. Yeah, that sounds real good.
Mm-mm. No.
You know, but boom, like there I was, like, and like I just been like assaulted by a cop, and then I got arrested for it.
Is that the time when you were at Grand Central sitting
Penn Station. Yeah,
Penn Station?
I'd already made it most of the way home. I just had a direct train, and like that wasn't even enough for, you know, some nonsense to happen. So basically my train was coming in 10 minutes. I had just gotten tattooed by Chris German, and like we had just finished the upper portion of the bodysuit. So I was in a really good mood. Like I said, my train's coming in 10 minutes. So I sit down and I'm on my phone, and then I feel a kick and I look up and it's two cops, and one of them's like, wake the fuck up. And I'm like, dude, I'm on my phone. Like, you kidding me? And then he just like said some more stuff. And, you know, after a tattoo, you kind of feel you just survived like a battle. Like you're kind of feeling some kind of way. So I told him to apologize for kicking me. And then they called for backup, and
That was it.
that was at the end of that. Yeah. And
Jesus.
Yeah.
What a fucking dickhead.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's New York cops, though. I mean, they're assholes no matter what. I mean,
Yeah, I
they got
mean-
an attitude just walking down the street.
yeah, I had to go to criminal court facing a felony just to clear my name
For doing what?
for sitting down on my
Insubordination or some
phone.
shit?
What's that?
So for what? What would they be giving you a felony for? Like insubordination for telling him to apologize?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what the fuck? That's so stupid.
No. Yeah, that's New York, though.
I mean, now
I've
there's
heard
not that many cops left, so the criminals are kind of taking over.
Yeah, right. I hear like there's like all sorts of mob shit going on.
Yeah, every day the
Yeah.
criminal is just like doing their thing, and I don't know who to blame. I think defund the police is silly, but I also think the police brutality is a thing, and I don't
See,
see.
that's the word. That's the dumbest thing that they ever said. Defund the police. It should be demilitarize the police.
Right.
Because again, the police aren't designed to be army people. They're civilian. They're civilians still. They're not military. And the problem is that you dress them up as military, they act like military. And until you take that away from them, they'll continue to act like it. You're not going to stop it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right. You're just gonna make them matter taking their money away.
Well, again, cops are human. They're no different than you and I. And the problem is, they all think that they're this Clint Eastwood anymore and Dirty Harry,
Right.
you know?
Man, it's getting harder to give people the benefit of the doubt just for being human anymore.
yeah.
That's true though. Seriously, that's a good statement because there's just
Like, that's
Some
the
people are just-
easiest thing we can do. It's like you gotta fucking try. Everyone's gotta try. It's like
yeah.
And you never even know who's bad because they put on. They're such convincing liars and con artists.
right. And society's just training us to be sociopaths. I swear to God, it takes effort not to be.
Yeah,
I believe that.
I mean,
What-
not completely, but I mean, in a lot of ways, life just demands that we carry on with our job, that we try to be, carry on with that. We do so much while disregarding the emotional states of so many people.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are stressed to the point that they let that stress carry out into their into their public life, and there's nothing's going to come good of it.
No,
There's just
Mhm.
not.
just get a tattoo.
You got to let that
You're
shit
stressed
go.
out,
Right,
Get
right.
that-
Just that statement though, like they're only human. It's like, God, that's such a hard thing to hear anymore. Like, not really. Like it's true, but also I'm like, God damn, you're a fucking human. Be a better human.
Yeah,
Shouldn't have to
Like-
give you the benefit of the doubt just because you're a human. It's like we get that.
it's just accept the truth. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. If you're a cop, you do got to be. I don't know. There's just so much ego problems with people and stuff. And like you see cops just like even like cops in training, you'll see them be such like assholes like to just like servers and things like that, just because like you can see them exercising power and stuff like that. And so like you start doing that stuff and ego gets the best of you, and like you're bringing that into so many more situations. And like I don't know, there's so much more cops can be doing just to be good people in general. I can see how it can beat you down. In New York, it's got to be insane, when you're focused on the crime all the time.
yeah, every day. I mean, there's
Such a back and forth, because I feel like if I was a cop, I would end up being an asshole. I'd end up being a huge fucking dickhead because I just don't like people that much, to the point of where I'm like
Well,
gonna be nice
that's
all
your
the
sign
time.
that you shouldn't be a cop.
No, I would never be.
Exactly.
I would never ever do that. I have no will to have power over people like that, or to ever exercise that type of power. You just think that like ruins the best minds. It's gotta be hard to be a good cop because of how easy it is, like human condition, to like revert into that exercising the power and feeling the pleasure from it, and then exercising it again and again and again because it becomes habit, and then being forced to do it because it's your job. So you're doing that in every other situation in your life. Now you're just like have to be the most dominant, or pretend to be, and feel like you have to live up to some sort of dominant role.
yeah.
I don't like it.
Well,
I think it's poisoning unless you
The
try
last
really
thing-
hard.
The last interaction I had with the police was when I was coming from the dispensary when medical had just been passed in the state. And their whole attitude at the time was, they couldn't touch you. That was the one thing. They make that thing. Well, you're nervous. Well, yeah, I got weed in the car still. I ain't got past that point that I can legally have weed in the car and you pulling me over. Yeah, I'm still nervous,
Right.
But they had to search the car and all that, right? But that whole time they all got their fingers on the goddamn trigger. And that makes me nervous because I don't trust them.
No.
I'm standing there, you've patted me down. I ain't got nothing on me already. So you still having your finger on the trigger tells me you want to kill someone.
Right. And also like the whole thing on like, you're only human type of thing. Like, like, of course, like I feel like so many cops are so scared, and that's why they act like that, is because they are scared. They know they got to go to work and be afraid. Who knows? Like you could pull out a gun or something like that. But at the same time, like you can't
be a cop.
You can't be
hardwired.
Exactly. If you're
Being an accountant,
hardwired to panic and grab a gun just so you make sure that you're going to be safe, like you have any idea what that does to a human being's mind when someone pulls out a gun? Ever, like especially got your finger on the trigger in any sort of way, no one can act normal. You can't do that, but then you look more guilty because of that, because they're not in that. It's a whole flip-flopped situation.
Yeah, when the person with the gun is like, why is your hand shaking? Why do you seem so anxious?
Why you acting weird?
I don't know.
Like,
Usually I'm not hanging out with somebody that's got their hand on a gun ready.
I don't normally have a gun put to my head. I don't know. Something about this situation making me nervous. I don't know.
I don't want to interject race into this, but you have to in my situation because yes, I'm half Irish, half Mexican, but I look Mexican. So cops are going to look at me, and what's the first thing they're going to do? Well, there's a Mexican, and their whole attitude changes because they do. It just changes
because they think you have blow on you, or
well, they automatically condemn you. Like, well,
they're like, all right,
like you're guilty for something before you're innocent.
You're probably drunk,
absolutely,
on tequila or Corona,
right? So now they're trying to figure out what's going on before they're like, okay, you're cool, as opposed to being like, oh, hey, what's going on? It's what are you doing in here? Until we find out that you're not doing something, there's probably something you're doing.
Yeah, just pigeonhole
against the goddamn Constitution.
So there you go. You worry about that. They got their hands on the trigger, and again, you got a gun on your hand. I mean, you got tasers. Why ain't you holding those first before anything? I mean, your whole intention is to actually blow someone away, really?
Eliminate the threat completely.
And then they're like, I have tattoos also.
Yeah, that too.
Like
add that on top of it.
My cousin did this for $80 or something, like, okay. Yeah, like, why did you pull me over? Isn't this illegal, what you're doing right now? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I get the whole point of profiling. I mean, again, part of policing is to be able to tell a criminal element, and there is a thing about profiling people, but not everyone that looks like that follows that profile, and that's a problem.
Yeah,
especially with minorities, it definitely is. We live in a world that too many people live in fear.
That's why I didn't want like visible tattoos right away, because you immediately get judged based on your first impression. Like that's just the way it is. So if you're heavily tattooed, people are going to be like, what's his deal? Is he like a drug addict or is he a convict? Like that's just the tattoo discrimination. And it's a strange phenomenon.
So what about this? If we're talking about tattoo discrimination, have you heard about, I feel like this is a thing that's happening in Columbus. People going out with good, colorful, bright tattoos and lowlifes assuming that they've got money. So they roofie them and try to rob them. Have you seen that? Like the flip side of the tattoo discrimination yet where you guys are?
I haven't heard that one yet.
Yep, that's a thing that's happening here in Columbus is people with like nice tattoo work are being targeted and drugged.
I'm not surprised though, because there was a collector, former acquaintance that I didn't know very well, but I could tell when he's like, can you Western Union me 200, I got a flat or whatever. And it's like, you don't have like PayPal or some other thing. And then an artist reaches out to me later on, a couple months later, like, oh, this guy said that you would vouch for him, that he had like 2 cane forged machines. And so I wired him some money, and now he's ducking me. So it's like, oh man, you know, someone's dragging your name through the mud, and then, you know, they're just some junky piece of shit, like trying to do shady stuff like that. You know, hopefully they're still alive and, you know, in rehab or whatever. But, you know, if that's the case, you got to make amends, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I do.
I don't know if I should name and shame, but like at this
He
point,
was in House City. We know he's been in House City.
Yeah, he picked me up from the airport too, and then it was after.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I knew that. As soon as you said that, I go, "Yep, that's him."
You know what? I did figure at some point today. I did want to like address that too when we were talking about some of the annoying things that clients do or have done unknowingly without realizing. So,
what are the annoying things? What are your pet peeves from crazy clients?
Well, I think if you're gonna throw everything in the kitchen sink and have 10 ideas and you have an unrealistic expectations for what the skin can accommodate, and you're just being overly pushy to the artist to the point where they're not even excited anymore about the tattoo, they just want to get it over with, like,
oh man,
I dim their shine. I see it, you know. Like,
I just had a consultation with somebody who literally, like, oh man, just didn't get it, doesn't get it at all. It was pretty rough. Me and Emily were kind of going over it because she's been doing my emails and everything for me. But this guy came at me with probably like 10, shows me like 10 different designs that he drew up that were drawn up from different people. He did a couple of them, but they were like his family's tattoos that they got, and he wants to incorporate all of them into like this big back piece thing. And already I'm like, God, this sounds bad. And Emily's kind of laughing, and she's like, yeah, this sounds weird. And I'm like, I'm thinking, kind of wanted some geometric stuff added too. And I'm like, maybe we can figure out a way to simplify and talk this guy into it and like do something and all that. And like, this guy's just going back and forth, ends up wanting, and what we realize is that he's not even asking for an actual tattoo. He wants a design. He wants me to draw the tattoo design. He wants me to go to have the consultation, and so he can pay the money for the design. But he also wants to keep no matter what, he wants to keep the design. So like, he thinks he's going to pay.
That's a red flag.
Right. So he wants to have the consultation, talk about it all, and get the design and stuff before we tattoo.
Do you just
so like,
want a piece of art for these people? Because that's different than
that would be better.
And I'm like, so you want me to spend all this time, 8+ hours probably, drawing up something with a ton of these ideas so you can maybe get it tattooed, but you also don't want it tattooed by me. I've realized that
he wants somebody else to tattoo it.
I don't even know what he wants to do with it. He wants me to draw it, but he's kind of acting like he wants me to tattoo it, but then gets on the where I want to pay him to draw it.
Did you say no at that point?
Yeah, we're at no, but he's like, I want to pay him to draw the 200, and then I get the design. And we're like, no, if you pay $200 for the drawing, that's fine, but you do not get to keep the drawing. Like, you're not going to take the drawing, me spend $200 for the drawing and then go to another artist or go do it yourself or something, because that comes with the package. I'm going to spend like 8 hours drawing that. Like, I'm going to spend a long time drawing something up, especially with a bunch of ideas, which I probably wouldn't have took on in the first place, but I would have spent so long on that. And that's just, $200 isn't worth the 8 hours I'd spend on that. But doing a full day's tattoo session, I'm okay with that.
With
like
all these elements into it, you know how hard it is to incorporate.
He ends up getting mad, kind of like talking a little bit of shit. And he's like, we're just not on the same page. We're just not getting it. He's like,
we're not on the same page.
Like, I think that he's like, what I'm talking about should be totally possible. I don't understand why he wouldn't want to do that. And we're just like, okay, cool. Well, we understand there's a misunderstanding, because at first we're like, maybe there's, he's like, if we're getting on the wrong page here, or what she said, if we're getting on the wrong page or something like that, I will recommend some other artists to you and all that. And by the end of it, we were like, sorry, there's no one at this shop that we really think is going to want to take on this project with you everything.
It just sounds like somebody who doesn't understand how the process works. I've definitely had people message me, and usually it's on like
shady.
It's usually on like Instagram. Usually I don't make it to my email with this, but they'll be like, I've definitely had the person, how much for you to draw this up for me? Or I want you to draw this and then so-and-so to tattoo it. It's like, first of all, if I designed it, they wouldn't be capable of tattooing it.
Like, what the fuck makes you think that? That was the first thing me and Emily said. Like, how? I think this guy just wanted a drawing and go to someone else with it. I don't.
You should have just gone to an illustrator.
Right.
That's the point.
Even if I draw it up shitty, he might be able to bring it to someone else and do something different or something like that. But at least he got the drawing from me because he's so adamant about it being in his possession after him, spending the money for me to draw it, which I kind of get the confusion there where you think for $200 you're going to get the drawing, but you got to realistically look at what all that takes, and no respectable tattoo artist is going to want to do that because they go so against the grain.
Some of them charge $500 or $1,000 for a design fee in addition to their hourly now.
Yeah. One of the things I talked to some of my clients
about
is
tattooed $1,000 and I'll draw that. I'll spend all day drawing it in the same way that I would tattoo all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of the things I like to talk about with my clients, ones that are like so set on like, can I see the design ahead of time? Can I get a copy of it? It's like, okay, so this is going to be just like a rough mock-up. This is not This is in no way a finished piece of art. This is more like, okay, so we've got our scribbly sketchbook entry. This is now our like digital refined sketchbook entry. This is not a finished piece of art. This is still notes that lead to the finished piece of art. And that's a funny, hard thing to explain to people because like, I think some people think that like when they want to design, we sit down and we draw up the flash or the stencil for that design, like what their idea is, and then we tattoo just that. But like, I just do like a quick mock-up. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm talking about, Todd, where like sometimes you're going to see exactly what you're going to have tattooed, but most artists that do big work, you're just going to have a rough mock-up, and then you kind of have to trust that it's going to fall into place, right? You know?
Yeah. Well, for most of the people that I've seen, well, with my artists is that I didn't see it until the day I was there. So, I never really got and I do too. And the other thing is I think artists do it now more so is like Jordan was worried about. They draw it up, they send it to them, and then all of a sudden they cancel the appointment and they're going to their homie and trying to get it done for cheap. And I get that for a lot of artists. I mean, why work all that time for a design and have a client cancel on you and they have the design,
right? And with that situation, beyond just the morally wrong and I don't like my shit copied, like it would affect me emotionally, I think, for a while. Like I would be pissed for a little while, and I'm like, damn, I don't want to have to deal with some against the grain ass person fucking pissing me off for a little while because they decided to go and be stupid. So now even your decisions affected me in multiple different ways now, and I just feel like it's just too much.
Yeah, don't piss your artist off. Yeah, you might end up with like 50 hidden dicks in your sleeve.
Yeah, don't. You might. You might.
I mean, you should expect it. Like they're gonna be a dick, like
unless your tattoo artist is a dick.
I remember I had one ex. She had just gotten her face tattooed, and a couple weeks later, she got the other side of her face done at a convention, and we had been drinking, but at some point, she started screaming at the artist who had just tattooed her face while he was in the middle of tattooing someone else. And the look on his face said it all. There's just like,
wow,
appalled.
Yeah,
just like
the funny thing was they were friends, and I guess the tequila got the best of her. I to this day have no idea what she was yelling about, and she was supposed to be sharing a hotel room with the artist and his girlfriend. And meanwhile, her and I had just broken up like a few days before, and the artist is like, bro, get her off my hands. So I don't think I've ever had like like screaming match with any of my artists. Like, I don't want that association personally.
God, if I had any client that got into a screaming match with me, they better be. If anyone ever gets into a screaming match with me, I don't care who you are, you better be a really good friend, or I probably never want to talk to you again. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
like
just not right. You don't talk to people like that. It's a lot of disrespect to scream at somebody, and the only person that I give leeway to scream at me is pretty much nobody except for my girlfriend.
while
Because I probably
while
pissed her
you're
off.
tattooing too.
Why you're getting tattooed? I remember that whole bit. That was at No Limits. I
That
can't. I still get over that, man. I'm going. How? Why? You're getting tattooed and you're screaming at your artist? Are you fucking stupid?
Like,
I just can't imagine being disrespectful. Like I'm setting aside the fact that I am a tattooer and what I'm about to say, but I cannot imagine disrespecting anybody who I trusted to work on me. Like the artists who have worked on me, like I trust and respect every one of them, like with the utmost. And I can't imagine ever
I just
being
imagine like,
anything
what
but
could-
humble and
what could
grateful
make
around
me
them.
scream in Guy's face? Could you imagine me screaming in Guy's face?
Yeah, no, not even
I don't even know how to
I can see
react
that.
to that. Like,
after he tattoos both sides of your face. And
I'd be
he
like,
has
I
another
might as well
client
not be
that-
alive after that. Like, I don't think he would kill me. I think that like emotional, like how
I
how
can't
would you
even
survive? How
imagine.
would you survive after that? I couldn't go
You know
on
what,
living.
though?
First off, he doesn't deserve that. Second off, but it's just like I couldn't even imagine. I feel like it's like unless someone was like weird, predatorial, and sexual or something like that. That's the only thing. I mean, or like fuck the tattoo up like big time. Only things I can imagine screaming at an artist about.
I can't come up with a situation or there's not one.
I've
I've
told
had
Megan
some-
that I don't like her at some points when she's tattooing me. And
That's
I
different.
don't.
It's different when you start giggling on the inside because you're accidentally imagining your artist falling into a pit of spikes. Like that happens. Your imagination goes there sometimes.
It does.
But to get realistically mad for any reason, or to have anger start spiking and then start taking that on your artist for anything like that, I have no patience for that.
I
Like,
have had
never done
clients-
that.
I have a little
joke
bit of
with Megan,
patience if it's
but-
jokingly, like if it's funny and joking, like, oh, of course, like, yeah, where they're like, I just hate your life right now. And it's like, yep, I know you do.
Yeah,
And then I'll keep going. And then I feel even better about hurting you because now you are saying things like that. But then like it comes to a point where I've had people actually get like, you can see that their mind's just getting angry in general. And then there's the people that accept that, understand that like, I'm just like, sorry, I just like getting angry, because it's just how I react to pain at this point. But then there's the people that just get angry. They don't understand. They're just like, they spiral out into just like, the downward spiral of I'm getting angry and I'm getting angry and this pain, this hurts. God, ow, 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 rubbing, ow, can change the paper towel. Ow, ow. Is that a different needle?
I'd be like, guy, take
Can
a
you
breath.
use it?
Is
It's
that is that a
okay.
different needle? What kind of needle is that one? Is it
It's
bigger?
a sharp one.
Is it bigger?
See, that's what I mean when someone just like the barrage of questions can trigger you and you're just like, damn man, shut the fuck up. But like, I gotta say, I can tell you guys the pitfalls if some artists are wondering like what an artist could do to piss off their client. So I've had people that I've referred to artists, and then the artists would talk bad or talk shit about me to the person that I referred them to, and they're like upcharging the friend as well. But just for like that friend to come back to you and be like, oh, your artist said this and that. It's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
I just made that guy money and now he's shit talking me to his client. So, I mean, at some point I'm going to have to revamp that tattoo. And then another one is having like artists hit on the girl that I was dating at the time. Like
Yeah.
That's an awkward
That
oh boy,
I want to
that would-
love my
God, that would
tattoo,
piss
but
me
now
off.
I feel like you have disrespected me
That
as
pissed
you
me off
were
so much. I
putting
think
a
that would hit
permanent mark
something.
on my body.
yeah, that I don't tolerate that. So those and the third one is if I'm paying for art or tattoos in advance, like 1,000 or more, and then I get ghosted. I mean, it's happened multiple times where I pay for a commission and don't get it. But I mean, I'm also so highly exposed to artists of all calibers across the board all the time. So I don't expect all of my experiences to be good. I think that would be.
But you can always have an expectation of people being accountable.
I mean, I would hope so, but sometimes
Right.
ego gets in
People
the
are gonna
way,
fall through.
and if you already paid them and they just ghost you, I mean, in some cases, I've paid for art and then they pass away, you know, so that's also like another thing where you just have to just chalk it up to just life and just a loss and a lesson, you know, like
there is an element of, and this is, you know, this is going to sound like me saying it is what it is, but like there is an element of it wasn't meant to be. You know what I mean? Like sometimes things don't work out so that better things can work out. Like if you set aside the financial, like the money, the investment, the time, like sometimes it didn't work out because there was somebody else who was going to come along who will make you happier. Like, so that's one of those, like, as discouraging as it is, you just kind of got to step back and be like, it wasn't meant to be there. Like, I'm going to meet a better artist to do what was happening. And, you know, like in the case of somebody passing away, like that's just an even more bittersweet, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely for like, I guess the word that comes to mind is regrettable that things weren't handled differently, where there was a positive outcome, because now it's like like a double negative. And to like, if people think it's okay to try and like contact family or friends, if an artist passes away and like you're trying to collect the money, like that's a scummy thing. Like,
yeah, that's one of those, like it's unfortunate that it didn't work out, but like at that point there's not anybody to be held accountable, and it just wasn't meant to be. It just is.
There's so many like pigeon hawks that as soon as an artist passes away, like then their store is sold out. You know what I mean? And bothering the parents, the mother, like, oh, when it's been 2 weeks already, where is, you know, and I saw like people being pushy with like Joshua Carlton for like it, like just relax. He's going through stuff, and like you'll get it when you get it. Like like people think they're entitled to like ownership of you as soon as they like pay you $5 for anything.
Thank you for saying that, Chuck. Thank you. That's one of those things that, like, as a tattooer and as an artist, like, yes, we count on our clients and our customers to feed us, basically. Like, we count on people who love our work to pay our bills. That's how it works. However, we're still our own person. And like, just because you have put a deposit down or you've paid for X, it doesn't mean you're more important than the other people who have also put deposits down. And like, you know, you're no more or less because you have reserved my time, basically. You know, that's actually always been one of my pet peeves, is when somebody like makes me feel like they think I'm at their beck and call because they've given me a deposit. It's like, oh no, I'm at this client that I've got coming in today. I'm at his beck and call today. And tomorrow I'm at the next client's beck and call. And I will be at your beck and call when it's your day. Until then, you know what I mean? Like, until then, you're not being fair to the person whose turn it is for my time.
So just take it easy, relax, try not to to send an email at rapid fire 2 sentences every 3 hours. Oh man, I just see poor etiquette everywhere. It's not just in tattooing.
I say it all the time.
Like with the driving, with the police, like
manners matter.
Yeah, like people are just choosing to do the wrong thing, and then will just give an empty apology afterwards that they
Mhm.
don't mean. Like we're in like becoming a society of just complete narcissists where like, oh, I got to make my mental health number one priority. But if it's at the cost of other people, if it's at the expense of other people, their emotions, you know what I mean? There's a healthy dose of narcissism or putting yourself first or whatever. I mean, that's definitely like survival. You have to put yourself first.
But at the
But
cost of somebody else's comfort, that's where it becomes a problem.
that's where I got to that point. It's like you're like, okay, there's a healthy amount of selfish for all of us. But when you're going above and beyond selfish, where it's actually turning into like mean spirited, future faking, like word salad, it's just, you know what, just
Mhm.
let people's actions speak for them. And like that, like people give themselves away, and then you don't want to believe that they're capable of being
Mhm.
like that.
It's funny. I was just having this conversation with somebody and they were like, when my mom says a girl tells you that she's crazy, she's crazy. Like, well, yeah, if somebody tells you how they are, then that's how they
usually-
are.
Yeah.
Right. Listen to them.
Yeah.
Make
yeah.
sure to make sure to listen to them. Don't ignore it.
But people's actions, like you were just saying, people's actions and the way people carry themselves and present themselves, like that's the thing that speaks volumes,
Yeah, what I
And
say for a client, give like one or two ideas, and like the inches or whatever the parameters of the space, with the email, not in the DMs, and just be like, well, what how much is the deposit? Do you do hourly, or will it be by this piece? And then wait, you might have to wait 2 months, but you know what? Like,
in the grand
that's
scheme of things,
fine.
2 months isn't that long when it's something you're going to have for the rest of your life.
Oh my God, I
Yes,
would wait 3 months between a session with Garver, and that's still not that long to me.
Mm-mm.
I mean, sometimes I've waited years. Like sometimes the artist just didn't like my idea, but I respect them more. And now that even if it took 5-10 years later and it finally got done, like,
It's funny to be like, be persistent, but respectfully. Like, don't pester, but like maybe just every now and then just check in with that artist. And eventually they're going to be like, you know what, your name's been looking familiar for a few years now. So what's your idea?
yeah.
But don't be the one that's like hounding. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, I didn't get worked on by Adam the first time that I talked to him about working on me. Like, he very politely told me no 3 times before we actually like sat down and had a consultation and really discussed ideas for my leg. With Russ, I went down to Georgia. We had a guest spot scheduled, so it wasn't like I was going down for no purpose, but we went down knowing full well that he wasn't committed to working on me yet. Like, he was committed to discussing ideas further, but he wasn't like,
Yeah.
like we had days set aside, but he wasn't like 100% in. But it was still worth it to me to go down there and meet him and discuss ideas further. And and if he would have said like, no, I'm not feeling this idea, or I don't think we're on the same page, I would have respected that and then probably waited 2 or 3 years and hit him up again. Like, I would have let my ideas develop and maybe like let his ideas develop, or however it happened. But like, there is there's a matter of patience in getting in with some of the artists. And sometimes the thing is, like, when you type your idea out in black and white, sometimes it just doesn't go through. Like, it goes through, but like it's not a clear enough picture of what you're wanting. So sometimes when you just give it time and let the idea develop further, and then you message again later on with like maybe more visual words, more of a description of your idea. Maybe that next time you reach out and you use better wording, you actually get your artist's attention and they agree to do a consultation. Like sometimes it takes a few tries to get your artist's attention, but don't get discouraged, I guess is my point.
Yeah.
Like don't get discouraged.
People thought that I was getting preferential treatment, but the truth was, for people that they're, they weren't taking on any new clients or anything like that, I would ask my friends that have been tattooed by them, what do they like? What are their hobbies? I'm going to send like a gift basket of their favorite stuff just to get like a blip on their radar,
Mhm.
And
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all.
No, it's not.
So people thought I was getting, preferential treatment, but I was really doing more work and just put in more effort. Basically.
You were putting the work in to show the artists that you wanted to collect from, that you were dedicated and you wanted to collect from them. That's where I'm at with my career, is I want people to come to me that want me to work on them. I shouldn't say I don't want other people, but like you can go anywhere to get a tattoo nowadays, especially in Columbus. There are hundreds of tattooers in Columbus. If you want a tattoo, you can get a tattoo. But if you're coming to me, if you're waiting in line, I want you to want like my original stuff. I want you to want like this crazy new experimental stuff that I'm playing in. I want you to want my like other dimensional outer space kind of stuff. Like I want you to want the things that I do that nobody else can do. And not that nobody else can do, but nobody in my area can do some of the things that I'm doing, or not that they can't do, but they're not doing the things that I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like if you're coming to me, I want you to do the stuff that like it's mine, not the stuff where I'm faking it and trying to look like it's somebody else's. Now, don't get me wrong. There are still artists like Jesse Ricks. I love the way that he frames a lot of his pieces with like the extrusions of the flesh colored hexagons and things like that. Don't get me wrong. I steal those ideas all the time. And I imagine like, how can I take that idea and make it my own? And like, I've got some pieces in the works that are like, they're definitely like taking his idea and running with it, but I'm not trying to make it look like a Jesse Ricks tattoo. I'm trying to make it look like a fawn tattoo with a similar element.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Inspired by is cool. Like, if because no one has ownership over hexagons. Like anybody can use them.
Especially since I'm playing with like all the platonic solids and stuff in my work. I'm doing all these like 3D sacred geometric shapes. So like the hexagons and triangles, like that's the majority of like the building blocks, but that triangular shape, which then goes into like a hexagon or icosahedron, or like those shapes are like the basic building blocks of everything that exists. Like those are the shapes. So
yeah,
that's what everything's built from. So that's where I like starting my ideas. If we're going geometric and other dimensional, like, and I've learned so much from watching his work. You're definitely, but like when you see some of these pieces that I'm working on, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's definitely Jesse Ricks inspired, but it's only pieces and parts of it. It's not the whole piece that would be like Jesse Ricks. It would just be like, oh, okay. I see where you got that idea from.
But it's like, it's cool and it's flattering when like it's partially inspired by, where it's obvious, like whoever is like the best at like the geometric, you just immediately like Mike Cole, or like you said, Jesse, like there's some people that just like that do it so well that it's just not,
or like Ty's work. Ty's work, it from a distance. You don't have to ask who did that bio piece. It's Ty's when you see it. But at the same time, does he influence hundreds of other tattooers, thousands of other tattooers? Like, do you see elements of his work in our work? Absolutely. But like, Ty's work when you see Ty's work. But
all right, guys, I'm gonna have to bug out of here.
Yeah, we're approaching 3:00, so I think we can probably just like wrap up if you guys want to.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Jordan's
the only
getting
thing
antsy,
I want to say
though
is that
if you're planning things out and that, and you've got like a strict structure how you're going to go about collecting, the one thing you have to be is a bit more fluid in your choices. Go with the flow. Because, you know, some people get so tunnel vision on the one artist that they forget that they have other people that they got lined up.
Mhm.
And because they can't get into it, you know, they neglect, or, you know, they get frustrated in that. And it's like, why? You already have plans for other things. So move forward with that and then go back to that guy.
Yep.
And
You
don't
know, I've
forget,
seen it a few times with some collectors.
Practice
have your
patience.
have your
Yeah.
money correct too before you
Yes.
start reaching out to 10 artists and name dropping Todd and myself, and then
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to see if I could get in. Cool. I might message you later. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, definitely. Got your name. Got your name from Chuck. Yeah, you did some awesome work. Can't wait to get some work. I'll message you back. Never.
yeah, exactly.
To you never.
Right. Just happy now you know my name. It's me.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us. Like I said last week, I appreciate your guys' input, especially so much. Hearing from people that are collectors and not tattooers, like your opinions are the most valuable. And it's so important to get, like, you know, we're just talking, we're spitballing the whole time, but it's so important to get this information out there for people that are new to the community or new to collecting, or people who, you know, they just want better work.
Yeah, it can be intimidating. So hopefully we drop some pearls of wisdom. I mean, there was nothing like this for us back then. It was like a guarded tattoo. It was a very guarded, not in secrecy, but I mean, it was still illegal in New York.
Yep.
So there was no resources as a person getting tattooed. It was just like you went to the store and whatever, like you might
Found
not
what you
even-
could find.
yeah, maybe something on the wall, or you look through a book, you might not even know the artist's name, and that it was a very informal thing.
Mhm.
And I mean, when I was, you know, on the Lower East Side of 13, that's what it was. It was just, you know, now there's a wealth of information out there, and hopefully people put it to good use.
Well, I thank you guys for contributing as often as you do. You're awesome, and I appreciate you guys always. We'll be back next week. I've got some guests lined up. I'll get some more information for us and share some Instagram videos. But next week, I believe we have the American Tattoo Society. Yes, we've got the American Tattoo Society. So we'll have a panel. There will probably be at least a handful of us talking. So if you guys are able to join us, that would be rad. But if
Yeah,
life
that
gets in the way,
sounds
I get it. Everybody listening, it's been awesome. This was episode 69. Next week will be episode 70. So we're getting up there in our numbers, and
70.
it's fun. It's still exciting. Still new people. It's awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Later.